What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show on another Tuesday here for Theme Parkin'. And I will mention off the bat, we are Vashless tonight. That's a verb, Vashless, or Vashless tonight. He is having internet issues for like a week. We are streaming on Vash's channel, so hello to Vash's channel over there at the Vash Sky ParkCast. We'll take good care of you over there. But he called earlier, and he was just like, he basically said, I have no internet. It would be terrible. So Vash was us in spirit. I don't know, he might be in the chat. I know he'll be hanging around a little bit if he's able to. But just want to mention that he, we'll miss Vash. We won't have B-roll tonight, so it's going to be a much different thing without the B-roll in there. So I got to figure out how to do. He was telling me how to do the B-roll, and I realized as nerdy and techie as I am, he is like the next step above me. And I was like, I'm going to have to take a minute to figure that one out. Like he told me like it was just super simple. I'm like, it probably is for you, but I'll probably figure it out at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like you and I, we did a video last night, right, with Mr. Webba and Jabberwocky, who's in the chat. But like the closest I get to B-roll is like pulling up the Twitter page for Scott Gustin or whatever. You know, that's as techie as I get. You know,
and we do have, so we are building like a big B-roll deposit or repository. So we have a bunch of it, and I just didn't have time. If I would have had time, I can figure it out because I know he uses a remote server to feed it to it, which I know how to do some of that. I just didn't have it around, but we'll figure it out. So we'll have backups in the future, but no B-roll. But I will have some. We'll have some stuff overlaid up here. But before we get going, just want to say hi to the chat in here. Sorry we're a little bit late. That was my fault. My workout went long, and I lost track of time. And my family got home, and I was like, "Oh, I gotta go." So that was my fault. So what's up, Jabberwocky? We got Stu, my Rick. We got Rudio, Rogue Attraction, Storybook Sorceress, Remy D. What's up, Remy D? Haunted Mermaid. I like Haunted Mermaid. That's a good name. John Make It Rain. We've got, let's see. Tone. What's up, Tones? Tone says, how's your day, boys? You know, it's been a little rainy in Florida, but other than that, it's not too bad. It's been a hard day down here. Like it's been dark and I don't know. I like rain when it like comes, but I don't like when it's all day. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, I feel like I need to be like, you remember the Frey music videos where they're looking out the window and just thinking? I'm like, I don't want to do that, but I feel like I should. Maybe I should. Has anybody ever done that? Just sit by a window when it's raining and thinking and pondering? I've never done it, but I know movies do it.
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
Anything big? Just staring.
You know what? Actually, I started watching the rain. Nothing popped up. Then lightning struck, and boom, idea.
Dude, that's what's crazy. The lightning down here, the last couple, like lightning in Florida is intense anyways, but yesterday it was raining
firsthand.
Yeah. And I'm sitting in my living room and it sounds like it hit my tree like 4 different times and never lost power. I was like, good night, man. That stuff will come in. It's crazy.
Man, we don't get rain at all over here. Conductor, can you remember the last time we got rain? I can't.
No, I can't either. I can't pinpoint it. I'll tell you what, though. Have the opposite effect. You're all rainy and gloomy out there. We're all burning up out here.
I mean, that's the thing too. Once the rain goes away, the sun comes out. It's just hot with the humidity once that happens. But Theme Park Philosophy. What's up, Philosophy? He says the rain here in Florida, it's coming all the time, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the worst thing about my yard is it becomes like a swamp, so I can't even mow it because if I go to mow it, my mower just is. It's like literally like a tractor in mud.
Oh God.
So the yard is what it is, I guess. But
Tone said,
well, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tone said he dances in the rain and listens to R&B.
Hey, I like that.
Of course he does. I mean, I figured as much, I mean, who has
rain?
There's a funny meme. Yeah, in our group chat, Jose and I, Theme Park Philosophy, we share memes back and forth because we work out, and it's like, what are you listening to when you work out? Most of the times, it's like 80s jams. Like you would think of like, oh, they're listening to death metal. I'm like, it's probably more or less like just an 80s song. You just look like you're tough, but you're just, if Mariah Carey comes on, you don't get too mad about it. You're like, I can deal with this. Nobody else is gonna hear this.
That's true.
But we all have that. We all have those songs in our playlist, like that tough guy stuff. Like I don't listen to rock music at all, but like I got the Pac in there. I got Mobb Deep. I do my hip hop version of that tough guy thing too. And but sometimes you got to do what Tones does, man. You got to bring out the baby face and the Casey and JoJo, right? I mean, you got to do a little R&B, right?
There you go.
8th grade me, Casey and JoJo was a big deal. You're just like, who do I dance to this song right now? It's a big choice to make in 8th grade. And
crazy.
Well, we have some interesting topics tonight, which we're going to dive into. So we'll have some good discussions tonight. One of which being AI in the theme parks is going to get really weird. I've been saying this for a while, and there's a patent now that proves it. I'm just going to put it that way. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Before we get to any of our topics, though, we'll introduce our great panel. As always, we have Mr. Orange Grove 55. Thank you for being here. Where can everybody find you out there on the lovely internet?
Well, I just want to say it's a lot of fun talking shop with you, Jared, and Mr. Theme Park Conductor. I want to thank you for having me on this evening. And I want to give a big shout out to Rudio, saying that you're a risk taker when it comes to music choices.
There you go.
Listen, guys, Bob Iger's a risk taker. I, too, am a risk taker. I listen to Mariah Carey's workout.
You know, Rudio, we're risk takers over here, bro. So, that's what we do. That's what we do. But you can find me here on YouTube, Orange Grove 55, talking theme parks, nerdy stuff with these guys all the time. And you can also find me on X, where lately I've been arguing about the D23 announcements. Good times. And
very cordial conversations were being had on X.
Oh, man. And then also on Instagram, Orange Grove 55.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we had a really good video. If you want to hear Webba just go off about D23, that was fun. Yeah, and he was like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, first off, never apologize for your rants. Rants are fantastic. They're
awesome. You don't apologize, bro. You double down. That's
the thing. You double down. If someone says, "Yo, you should be so upset about this," like, I'm now more upset that you told me not to be upset. Now I'm up here. I was here. Now I'm here. And you're just like, okay,
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're also joined yet again by Mr. Theme Park Conductor. I believe you get the award for most recurring guest. So it's your
I appreciate
award.
that.
We'll send you your cardigan in the mail. It'll come.
Perfect.
At some point. You get a theme park and legends award is what you get.
Conductor. Perfect. Hey, as long as my cardigan looks better than Bob Iger's, I'm good.
We'll get it fitted. It'll work.
Perfect.
Yeah. If you want some shoulder pads in there, we can give those for you. Give you better,
Okay, well, I don't want to look like I'm wearing a jacket from the 80s. So maybe not that,
we'll figure it out. But where can they find you out there? What you got going on out here on the internet?
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we just had Orange Go 55 on, and it was a great conversation. Like I said, like he said, the D23 battle news continues on all platforms because it's just a great conversation. And we do that live stream once a week on Sundays at 5 or 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I do want to shout out to a couple people in the chat that have posted it. We did lose a major music icon, which is Dolly Parton, sadly passed away today at the age of 80.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. So, for some reason, I found out before my wife did, because I told her, I was like, "Did you see Dolly Parton pass away?" And she just was like, "What?" And I'm like, I thought she usually knows this stuff for me. But yeah, I mean, 80's a good long life, but there were rumors around. I remember, was it a year ago? There was like a death rumor of hers that she put a video out and said that she was okay. Really? I think she was having some health issues, but yeah, I think. Well, the other thing too, I think her husband had recently passed away, and a lot of times when people have been together a really long time, it hurts. Yeah, that's tough. That is tough. So
I would, she's a really good. I never got into country music, but man, I respect the heck out of Dolly and what she just as a person and what she's her impact on music and even in our theme park space. I mean, with Dollywood, she made a tremendous impact even there. She always fought for quality. So yeah, rest in peace. Sad day for sure.
Definitely. Absolutely. And John, chill. I'll kick you out of here. Just chill. Okay.
Oh boy.
I already had to deal with this another thing, but all right. Let's talk about
real quick though before, and I didn't know this, Jared, but I guess Jason Hill's saying that Conductor and I got a shout out at Ricky's new video. Is that
we did? I saw
what?
That. I did. Okay, I watched it because I watch everything Bricky because he is so close to 100K subscribers. I'm ruined for him. But I was watching his latest video on his main channel, dude. I saw it, and I need to text him because I'm like, that is like a humongous honor That's like winning.
That's awesome.
That's like winning an Oscar. You know what I mean?
I love it. I didn't watch. Is it the? I'm assuming it's the Spider-Man video. I saw it in my notification. Okay, I'm gonna watch it tonight. That's really cool. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that, man. And thank you, Bricky.
The newest one.
Newest one.
Okay, I'll check it out. That's awesome. Well, shout out, Bricky. All right. Well, this is, we've been talking in recent weeks, Josh, what's going on with Disney, any changes that, and I think there's some evidence that things have been changing around the company. And this news broke yesterday, which I find very interesting, in that Disney, and this comes from Deadline, Disney is offering voluntary early retirement packages to executives. So it says, as part of Disney's cost reduction efforts, the company is offering longtime executives early retirement, laid out in a memo sent by Disney EVP, which I didn't know they have a chief people officer. I've never even heard that term before. Sonia Coleman.
That sounds like such a California thing, by the way. I mean,
I'm the CPO. You're like, what do you mean? I'm the chief people officer. You're like, I didn't know that was a thing. Said that employees ranked director and above, the company is introducing voluntary early retirement offer, a time-limited company-sponsored program that will give eligible executives the opportunity to retire now with an enhanced retirement package that recognizes their service and contributions. So this is only for like directors and above. So these are higher ups here. It's also one of these things in the corporate sphere, like these things get rolled out and it's sort of a little bit of a, if you take this, you get this, but you may not have a choice in the next round that we may have coming, but the choice is yours sort of thing. It's usually a really nice way of trying to fire people, essentially, before they actually fire you. But I find it interesting being, we've already seen them do some layoffs here, and you've got to imagine most of these positions here are going to be Iger people. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of this. Now, Disney has reworked their marketing department a lot since Tomorrow has came on board. Obviously, I don't think that affects the marketing stuff from what I've read around and asked a few people about. But what do you guys think about this? Because I think this does point to, we've seen something, and again, D23 seemingly much more fan-focused, different posture, even during earnings calls, being much more transparent with information, even mentioning competitors and saying, hey, these movies didn't do good, things like that. What do you guys think about this and maybe what Josh is starting to do?
Every time new management comes in, whether it's a company like Disney or whether it's your current job, like if you get a new manager, they always want to leave a mark quick and fast, right? Yeah. So one of the first things that like a CEO or like a manager will do is they'll start to purge a lot of the loyalists, right, in the former regime, so to speak. And I think that, Jared, you mentioned this last night on my channel, and I think you're spot on. I think that's kind of what we're seeing here, right? I think that Josh obviously is running this company now, and he wants to have, his people, kind of calling the shots, and I think that this is sort of a little bit of like a cleaning house. And also too, I think that in general, it's probably that, and also combined with the fact that, these companies, not just Disney, a lot of them are trying to get a little bit leaner and bring costs down, right? And Disney's been really guilty of like overspending on just about everything, whether it be movies, building attractions. Imagineering is notorious for overspending on stuff. So, I think it's a two-pronged thing, right? I think Josh wants to like kind of purge, the old guard a little bit. And on top of that, they probably want to get a little leaner too. Now, look, I want to make it very clear. I'm never happy to see anybody lose their job, and it really sucks. And I mean, my heart goes out to anybody, that is in a bad position where they have to leave or whatever. But like, this is the corporate world, and it's looking like at least these folks are going to get at least an opportunity to kind of do it on their own. But you mentioned a great point last night, Jared. It's kind of rolling the dice though if you don't take this package, because the next round you might not get a choice. So
it's like an implied, like, yeah, it's a very nice thing of, I think I've likened it to being like when your wife or a girlfriend or say something and be like, no, whatever you want to do. And you're like, what does that mean? Like, because the implication here is if you don't take this, You may not be fired, but they did say something later on in the article about what was the phrasing they used to call it? I think it was like involuntary like elimination or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be following after this. I can't find. I'll see if I can find it, but yeah, I mean, the implication here is like you're going to get some perks here if you take this. You're going to get severance. You're going to get some of these benefits. You're still going to get recognized as all these things, but you're probably not going to get that if you don't take this now, which I do find interesting.
Yes, very much so. What do you think, Conductor?
Well, see, it's quite interesting because you mentioned about corporate America, and it's always the same thing with each company. New leadership comes in, they want to trim down the fat and rebuild from the ground up. That's what they like to do. Like, I mean, when we here at Costco, when we changed our CEO to Ron Veracruz, which is our current CEO, there was a lot of shift change. There was a lot of people that were close to retirement that just decided to leave because they heard rumblings about a different direction that the new CEO wanted to take. And they weren't thrilled with it, but they had the time with the company. So they said, you know what, we're leaving. So I'm not surprised Demaro is doing this. I do find it interesting, though. And I want to ask you both this. Being that Demaro, we've all said it, he is a parks guy first and foremost, before anything else. I find it very funny that a lot of what you guys call the Bob Iger loyalists are getting terminated, and departments that were overfatuated with staff that didn't need to be are being trimmed back, especially after what we saw at D23. Like, I mean, again, I'm not saying this is a contributing factor, but maybe it is. Who knows? You have all these projects we weren't even expecting to be announced, because we all said it at multiple times before D23 that they were just going to have the parks panel as like an update panel. Nothing new was going to get announced at any of the parks, both on the West Coast and East Coast. It was going to be a rare moment if they did. And they didn't just announce one project. They announced multiple projects on both coasts. So it doesn't surprise me that Demaro is going in this direction.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and you're right. I mean, when you have new management come in, and I'm a big advocate of the Pandora stuff. I've made no bones about that, but I'm also realistic, and like right now, Scott Gustin and people in the know are saying it's not canceled. But look, reality is when you get new management, they can come in there, and Jared, you brought it up, like they can come in there and be like, this thing doesn't work for us. Maybe we haven't broke ground on it yet, so it's not too late to cancel that, right? So it goes for projects, it goes for adding new stuff. Like maybe Bob Iger didn't want to invest in a new Tomorrowland. We got reports. I know our Vash actually he brought up an article about, I think it was a conversation Disney had about our new Tomorrowland being like a viable thing back in like 2019 or 2020 or something like that. And like the executives at that time didn't want to do it. Now they want to do it. See, that's a management shift, so you just don't really know when these new guys come in and new gals come in. I mean, they might have a whole different, mission statement for the company. So I hope Pandora doesn't get canceled and things like that, but you never know. And other things are coming to the foreground, Spaceship Earth and Figment and Dreamfinder, and that stuff might not have happened under Bob, right? So,
and I think that's what leads to, like, when you're looking at this stuff, it's like the stuff we're hearing from D23. I think whether you like what they announced or not, it definitely is much more of a shift toward listening, like trying to do fan service, which I wouldn't think is something we've really gotten for a little bit from the Disney company, being outright telling you multiple times, like, we're doing this for you. We listen to you. Like, they were really going out of their way to mention that. And granted, that's lip service. I'll believe it more when I see the action behind it, but they did go out of their way at this point to do it. You're around the 6-month mark. It's all interesting because Bob Iger is still in the building, supposedly. We don't know that, but supposedly he's still around until the end of the year. And so we did wonder if there would be some big moves by him. And I think we have seen little things and starting to see the direction going. And Josh has even mentioned about, he's a risk and all these things he's going to do. And, One Disney, and obviously he's going to, there's been lots of talk about Disney needs to be leaner. I think using AI falls into this. And so I just found it very interesting that it wasn't right away, because I think a lot of times it's like, in the medieval times when a new king comes in, like you get rid of all the people that were there before because they're always worried about somebody overthrowing you. And I think if you're Tomorrow, you got to remember Bob Chapek and what happened to him. He was backstabbed, and maybe Josh was part of that.
Maybe
what happened to him. And so on some level, it could be a little bit of like, let's get the people out of here that may not be on the same page as me. Maybe they're with Bob Iger. We want to get fresh blood in here with the vision I have. Like, I think it'd be as simple as that too.
Well, see, I'm going to tell you guys this. I'm telling you right now, when Chapek does release his book, it's going to answer a lot of ghosts in that closet between Bob Iger, and I guarantee that Tomorrow's name is going to be in that book.
Probably. Well, that book and that other book that's being written by that Wall Street Journal author. I cannot remember that guy's name off the top of my head. But the rumor out there is that Bob Chapek was a source for that one as well. So apparently Bob Chapek's NDA is done, because there's no way he'd come up with this book if that wasn't the case.
Oh, no.
No, I am like, when that comes out, we will talk about it, because I think there's going to be some real juicy stuff in there.
Oh, yeah.
And so go ahead.
Well, no, I also, to your point, guys, I mean, Jason brings up an excellent point as well with the original trilogy coming to Galaxy's Edge, right? Even the Muppet Coaster, like, they closed down Muppet Vision, but they did, compromise and gave Muppets their own roller coaster across the way. These are things that, like, very, very Josh D'Amaro kind of moves.
Well, that's why that's why I talked about in my opening statement about D'Amaro trimming back the company and many departments, getting rid of the Bob Iger loyalists, because I kind of felt maybe his first term as CEO was arguably better than his second term. His second term, he didn't care about the parks. Let's be honest. And now that we have a parks guy leading the company, it's only going to get better from here. But in order to get better, you have to trim back a lot of jobs, which, again, I want to iterate what Orange Grove 55 said. I am not okay of people losing their jobs, especially, older adults that have families, homes, investments and stuff like that. I'm not okay with that. But again, this is what you get into working in corporate America. You have to understand, when you take a job in the retail game or the customer service game, there's always that chance that a massive layoff will happen. It's inevitable.
Well, and companies tend to, like, they go through these cycles of, they go on a hiring spree, they get too big and bloated, and they lean down a little bit. Like, this seems like a leaning down period right now, which makes a lot of sense with a new regime coming in. And I find it all interesting, because there's all these breadcrumbs of, we all had questions about, when a lot of these park changes specifically, like how much was Josh involved? And maybe, and I made the point, and who knows, I'm just speculating, but maybe Josh wasn't on board with a lot of this stuff. Maybe he got overruled, because I think one thing that's gone on in the parks is a lot more of the C-suite oversight has happened than in previous, eras of Disney. And I think that's been pretty well documented. And so I think we're kind of seeing, and it makes sense to me, of like having some of this fan service at D23, given the last go round, which was that Monday after D23, all of a sudden Rivers are gone and Muppet Vision 3D is gone. And really the fans were really upset about that. To have some fan service here is not a bad idea.
No,
but I don't think this is anything Iger would have done.
No,
I just think I think Josh's strengths are, he's charismatic, but and we've all talked about this. He understands sort of like the chatter around a company. What are people saying? And I think he's much more in tune to that. And I think that's a strength of his, because he was at D23 shaking hands and all that stuff. People in line, you never saw Bob Iger do that.
Oh,
like,
no,
that's
no.
Thing he would do.
See, that's what I mean. Like, I love D'Amaro because he's a people person.
Yeah.
He has absolutely no problem going into the park, no matter how busy it is. And like you said, shaking hands, talking to guests, talking to cast members, and really kind of getting out there instead of being, to be honest, having an army of security guards around him. And even if you get close. No, leave me alone. It's like, no. I personally, for me, that's what I kind of love about our CEO and our past CEOs for Costco. Same thing. You know, a lot of times when they kind of lose grip on reality and they're stuck in the office for too long, they will go out and visit other Costco's around the United States and talk to employees and whatnot and kind of get the vibe of what's going on. And that's a good CEO. A bad CEO, to be honest, is just has blinders on and doesn't want to communicate with anybody except for the board.
You're right, Conductor. And this is the challenge of being a CEO or being a leader, right? Where you have to sort of balance, though. Like we talked about it on my channel and on this show too, I think last week, where you want to listen to fans, but I do think you can over listen, right? Like if it's okay here on the West Coast, if it was up to fans, DCA would never get anything because everyone wants everything to go into Disneyland. Everyone, right? So you can't, if you over listen and just let the fans kind of steer the ship, you're going to neglect areas of the company that might need some work because the fans, you know, but at the same time, though, you also don't want to ignore the fans. You don't want to give the fans a middle finger and be like, well, screw you guys, you know, so you have to balance that out. And that's where I think Josh, though, to be fair to Josh, I do think he does have a little, quite a bit actually of like social, like intelligence.
Like EQ, like a high EQ, probably like emotional intelligence level.
Yeah, I think he does. So that's the thing that keeping me like kind of optimistic with that because like I do worry about like over listening to fans because you can definitely do that, man. I mean, there has been so many examples of like things that the fans didn't want that turned out great, and like you just have to kind of like also listen to fans, but also trust your creatives. And kind of take, as you know, Josh, you know, be the risk taker. You know, you got to take the risk a little bit, right?
Definitely.
Well, and that's a good point. I mean, it's like a skill, and like you're not going to make everybody happy because that's impossible to do. But it's like the easy things you could do that most people would like. For instance, fixing the Yeti is like one of those things. Like I think most Disney fans were probably like, just at this point, it was never going to happen because it's been 20 years. They're just like, whatever, it is what it is. So like you do that. Figment's been asking for Spaceship Earth, you know, Tomorrowland and Disneyland. It's like you do a lot of these things that have been the real, I guess you would just call them like sort of the easy bottom of the barrel. You grab them up. They're not that difficult here to grasp what people want, sort of thing. And so, but yeah, you can't go too far. Because I mean, listen, not every fan has a good idea. Some people have insanely terrible ideas that people want to see. And, you know, it's just, it does take a skill set to know like when to listen, when to pull back. And even it's been talked about, I think Tony Baxter had mentioned, you know, some of the best things ever that they've created were not things people were asking for, but they had a vision for it. We're like, no, we are going to present you with something that's going to blow your mind. But it also takes skill and knowing how to tell stories. So like, you have talented people in your company. Yes, listening to fans is a good thing, but sometimes if you're just like, no, this will work. We're going to show you it's going to work. We're going to take the time to explain it, and you know, we're going to wow you about it. I'm okay with that too. Sure. So I think there's a balance there. It's like if you're going to go this way, you come back this way, and it's kind of like being on a canoe. You just like you don't go too far the other way, or you're going to tip over. So you just got to kind of stay right in the middle, or try to some degree.
Definitely. Let me ask you guys this though, being that this headline article is talking about voluntary early retirement packages to executives. Being that obviously Josh is the CEO and under his leadership, he's offering this to the executives. Do you see something like this that maybe Bob Iger wouldn't have done when he ran the company? Or is this kind of on the more generous side of tomorrow?
I'm trying to remember under some of, I mean, I know they've had some layoffs over the years. A lot of times it was lower level. I don't recall the last time something was focused on like upper management. And I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I just can't think off the top of my head of that. That's what makes this interesting, and the timing of it. This is a very typical corporate thing you see, though, of like offering this type of thing. Like it's not really out of bounds, or like, you know, nobody's done this sort of thing. It's definitely like a soft firing in many ways. And
correct.
You know, whether or not, now some people are speculating it's getting rid of, you know, ideological people. Who know? I mean, I don't really know if that's what's going on here, but I think if you're looking at most companies, have bloat, undoubtedly, especially Disney.
Yeah.
And so if you can, get rid of some of that, lean things up, which he has mentioned he wants to do, and at the same time bring in more talent into the company. And I think if you're Josh and maybe, everybody, like I said, everyone's going to come with their own vision, what they want to do. Like we were talking about with DCA with Pandora. That was a Bob Iger project. He had announced it. That was kind of his baby. Now how long has it been? 4 years since they announced that? About 5 years, somewhere around there. So now Josh Tomorrow comes into the picture. That may not be his thing. He's looking at that going, well, that's not what I want to put my name on. Not that they won't do it, but he's like, I have the things I want to do before this because I'm in charge now. This is what we have a new CEO, and the same thing with people that are also employees of the company too.
Well, and it's also smart in terms of you kind of want to build momentum early on. Yes. Like the first year or so is probably the most important for these guys, right? And actually, Bob Iger did a good job. The first couple years that he was CEO of Disney, he did a lot of like fan servicey stuff too. Like he got Oswald back to Disney, right? He bought Pixar, which was a really smart move because at the time Disney Animation was not doing great. So he bought Pixar and all that talent, right? So he did a couple of fan servicey things, kind of built that trust up, and that kind of set the ball rolling for momentum going forward. It seems like Tomorrow is kind of doing that same kind of thing where he wants to get in there early, get fans on board, build that trust, and kind of go from there. So, maybe that's why also like with Avatar, it's like, you're right, Jared, maybe it still happens, but maybe they're thinking like, I want to build more goodwill. And the way to do that is the Yeti, Figment and Dreamfinder and New Tomorrowland. And then once we get that goodwill, we can kind of do the riskier stuff because he's a risk taker. We'll see.
Well, yeah. I mean, and two, like if you think about that, like in a company, like one thing Disney does lack is trust. I think a lot of the fans, even if they love Disney, don't necessarily trust what comes out of their mouths because I think there's a lot of evidence of projects that haven't happened or changed stuff. And so it's not a bad philosophy. If this is the goal here, the plan to build up some trust from the fan base, because we've talked about at D23 very, very thin on details on this stuff. But what if, as time goes along, they follow through with these things. And then when the next D23 or another announcement comes along, there's not a lot of details. The fan base doesn't freak out because they're like, okay, they're going to let us know. And I think that is part of what they're probably doing here of like, we understand you don't believe us. And even if they would have thrown concept art out there, there would have been people being like, no, it's not going to happen, whatever. Like their actions are going to have to follow up a lot of the things that they are saying. But I do agree. I think there is some really good evidence here that there are some breadcrumbs that show you that at the very least, one of the bigger questions was, is Josh Tomorrow going to be an Igerite? And I definitely at this point can say it does not seem like he is that. I mean, he even started selling off some of these linear assets as well, which is something Iger never did. So I think he definitely has his own vision and he's kind of in the midst. And I even said too, it might be a weird first year because Iger's still hanging around. And so how much is he really going to rock the boat with Iger still in the building? I don't know if this one would go against what Iger wants, but maybe things really get more aggressive starting in 2027 when Iger's no longer there.
That's where I think, really the needle's going to move once Iger is officially out. Because right now it's kind of like, I kind of feel like Josh is teeter-tottering, dancing on thin ice, with Iger still there. Once Iger's not there, because me and OG talked about this when that ABC, interview happened with David Muir on ABC News tonight. We kind of analyzed that video on one of our weekly videos that me and him did, and we are like, why does Tomorrow keep looking at Iger for permission to say stuff?
All right.
It was an awkward interview.
It was very awkward.
Well, it was funny too when I was actually editing that clip, the I'm a risk taker clip. Before that, this is where the BS comes in, right? Before that part with I'm a risk taker, Josh Tomorrow is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like sitting next to Bob Iger.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, wait a minute, you work with this guy day in and day. Tomorrow, you've been working with this guy for years. And I think Iger was kind of like saved him a little bit. He's like, well, yeah, we've been working together for a while, but yeah, but it's like that was like a shtick though. Like clearly Tomorrow's not like got the butterflies to be around Iger. You
right.
work with the guy every single day, bro. Come on, cut the act, right?
Well, and I will say from that interview to more recently, he does seem a little bit more like comfortable. Like he seems like he's kind of like leaning into the role. Because I do agree that interview is just like, we want to hear what you're going to do and not like a Bob Iger glazing session here about how great Bob is. And we're like, okay, we get it. Like it seemed like every single time that he spoke, he was required to say how great Bob Iger was. I'm like, okay, geez Louise.
It was almost like a tagline. It was ridiculous.
It's almost like it was in his contract where it's like, okay, you guys have an obligatory Bob Iger, thank you, you're great, section before every time you talk or something.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Rock Blazer here, and so did Rogue Attraction, said there were a pretty massive amount of layoffs from Pixar in 2023, including Lightyear director Angus McLean. And then Rogue Attraction also said Iger did cut 7,000 jobs from entertainment division. And I knew there had been some cuts. I just wasn't sure if there was like, when you're talking like upper management type of.
No, and 100%. One thing I will say, and actually Kiki and Luca pointed it out, Bob Iger's legacy will always be that he bought Lucasfilm, Pixar, and Fox and Marvel. So that's his legacy. That will be forever Bob. But I mean, like we've all said, Tomorrow is trying to make his, stamp of approval on his legacy as running the company. And I think personally, the announcements we got at D23, as vague as they were, and I agree with OG, they were vague, and everybody else. I do agree with that. But the fact that he's willing to take risks and replace the Yeti and fix Spaceship Earth and give us a new Figment, even dare touch Tomorrowland at Disneyland, because the thing with Tomorrowland at Disneyland, we've had 3 other CEOs that didn't even want to deal with it. You had Eisner towards the end of his career, didn't want to deal with it. You had Bob Iger twice, didn't want to deal with it. And you had Chapek, didn't want to deal with it. So, I mean, he is making, history in the making by touching these projects that no other CEO in the last 20 plus years wanted to touch.
And there are things that fans have been wanting too.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because he definitely has heard it because he's out here doing it. And I agree with you. It's like, this was kick the can down for so long. Like when they said the Yeti was getting fixed, my immediate thought, like, I just didn't even think that was something in the cards. I was just like, because my understanding, I guess we'll find out, was like, that's a pretty massive undertaking to go in there and do that from what Joe Rohde had said previously.
Yes.
And so Tomorrowland, I think, is a very similar thing because I think it's the same thing in Disney World's version, which is once you get into those buildings, I think you'd mentioned before, you probably got a lot of asbestos in there, would be my guess. And then you got those interconnected buildings. That could get real messy digging into those old buildings and bringing that all up to code. It's not just a simple thing. And if let's say too, he brings back the monorail, or not, excuse me, the monorail, the people mover.
Yeah.
I mean, these would be really big moves to really give fans what they have been wanting. And I think if you're Josh and you play to your strengths, getting the fans are already kind of on his side. I think much more than Chapek for sure. So if you can win the fans on your side, also just from a corporate atmosphere perspective, it's also job security because the fans love you. One thing that did Chapek in was the fans didn't like him and the people that, Chapek was working with didn't like him. So he kind of, so if you've got the fan cover of they really do like what you're doing, it does make your job as CEO easier and also a little bit more job security. Not that I think he's in risk of anything, but that's what you could think about is being like, I'm going to win the fans over, get them on my side and, operate from there.
Well, again, like I said, D23, one of the biggest Disney events, I think he accomplished that. Now, could have, how can I say it? There could have been more details, but the fact that we got it means that they are working towards that goal. He is wanting to do that. He is wanting to put the money, effort, and time into fixing these attractions that might not bring the ROI that the company really wants out of these projects. But the fact that he's willing to kind of overlook that and, bring them back to life anyway. And my whole thing is with Tomorrowland, like you said, Jared, once they start ripping into Tomorrowland, You can't do little sections here and there. There's no way. It's either you touch it and you go into it, or you don't.
Well, and here's the thing too. Fans are going to be. I'm telling you, I know how the fandom kind of works, especially when it comes to stuff that like Disneyland stuff.
Sure.
There's going to be a lot of controversy with this tomorrow. I'm telling you, Maslam got on that stage and said, yeah, we got some wide open spaces here. It's probably going to be a grassy knoll where the submarine lagoons used to be, right? That kind of stuff. I am telling you, there will be decisions made with this new Tomorrowland that will be very controversial. Because right now it seems like, oh yeah, we want a new Tomorrowland. Well, because they were smart about it and they didn't give you any details, fandom. Wait till the shoes start to drop and tell you what you're going to lose. What are you gonna pay for that new Tomorrowland with? Is it going to be Autopia? Is it going to be the submarines? Is it going to be? Trust me, it's going to happen. And people are going to be like, oh man, I wish we just would have got Avatar.
Well, and I think we've talked about it at length about the Avatar situation, which I think there's. Put it this way, if I came in as CEO and I was left with this project that still hadn't started yet, and I really wasn't that big, gung-ho on it, and there's lots of questions around the IP itself, like even the guy that's making the movies was like, hey, I'm out of here. I might be like, maybe we give it a minute, like see what's happening with this thing. I could see it. It doesn't mean it won't happen. I hope it does happen because Pandora, I don't care about Avatar, but Pandora is a great land. But we'll see what happens there. But I can understand going in there. And maybe, listen, if you are going to take those things away, maybe the other consolation end of that is you do get the People Mover back. You get something back in there that people have been asking for. Maybe they will bring back Carousel Progress. I mean, who knows at this point what they might do.
It's true. I think I just have a little PTSD from like the Westcott stuff.
Oh, 100%. Oh, well, I got PTSD from the Epcot overhaul. We're going to get a spaceship that's landing in the middle of Epcot. And it's like, what's this? And they're like, oh, it's Communicore Hall. I'm like, that's a dining hall. And they're like,
I would agree. When I went there back in March, I walked in there, Jared, as your suggestion. I walked in there. I literally felt like I can grab a coffee. I was wearing a suit, and I could sit down on one of the nice, comfortable couches and have like a Skype with your business associates. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as bad if they didn't show, and which is probably why they're not showing concept art as much now, when they showed all that concept art. And you're like, dude, that looked, and some of it, to their credit, some of it did come true. The fountain in front of Spaceship Earth, some of the other things, like it did look like the concept art, but big things got cut. And then you also talk about, you got the theater that was supposed to be right outside of the Magic Kingdom Theater that they were breaking ground on, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. And then they just memory hold it, never mentioned it again. There's lots of examples of, and it's very understandable even now. I put out a video yesterday, which, it's funny because I knew I was going to get called a Disney shill. And I was like, I think it's funny in this video, as many complaints as I have had, I do feel like Disney is going in a different direction than I have seen ever since I've been covering theme parks. I think now lip service is one thing. They're going to follow this up with action and actually deliver on these things. But I think in the park side alone, I like Thomas Masloom. Everything I've heard about him say, I agree with. Like, he's out here saying, like, hey, efficiency, like getting people off their phones as much. Like, we need to, like, all the things, very customer and client centric, because he comes from the cruise line. He comes from the Signature Collection, which that is catering to very high end people. So, we'll see what Joe Shoot does as well. You got Jill Estorino now at Disneyland. So you got whole new people in charge of the parks now. Definitely looks like you're going in a different direction. I think for Josh, as the whole company stands, a lot of questions are going to be around, like, say, Pixar and the original animated movies. Like, are you able to get those things going and more like consistent movies out there? I think that's a question there. Outside of sequels, are you able to get new stuff hit? And maybe that's part, but that's going to be something we're not going to know for years, because that takes a long time to turn around. We're talking about entertainment type properties, but it makes sense if you're Josh. Lowest hanging fruit is theme parks, is what he knows, and it seems like that's kind of what he's going toward here, while he does, other things that he's sort of tinkering around the company with, currently speaking.
Well said. And Mickey's my spirit animal said, I got PTSD 23.
a good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it.
I love it. I love it. That's very clever. But Kiki and Luca here said that, like, we are going to lose Avatar, which would have cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and get something that costs much less. And that's my biggest concern. Like Kiki and Luca, I'm not like a big Avatar IP guy, but like that looks super ambitious. I mean, that model was gorgeous on the D23 floor. My biggest fear is like they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? We'll downsize. We'll give you Zootopia, and the ride is basically Mickey and Minnie's and Rise of the Resistance. No real difference there, and you're going to get another cityscape in DCA with LED screens or something. I don't want them to downsize the ambition. If you're not going to do Avatar, that's totally fine. But whatever you replace it with has to match that level of ambition. DCA has an uphill battle right now to compete with the park that's feet away from it, Disneyland. You got to bring it. And I'm sorry, like, there a lot of DCA stuff that they've done since 2012 have been really phoned in. And I have a really hard time trusting them. Even the Coco thing, I'm worried about it. They didn't give us any information on that. That's really super fishy. I'm like, there's just a lot of question marks. I want DCA to be a better park. And I don't really think Disneyland needs the work right now, to be honest with you guys. DCA needs it way more. But at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want to do. But if you're not going to do Avatar, then you better bring something super ambitious for that spot. Go ahead, Conductor. Sorry, bro.
No, 100%. And like Jared was talking about earlier, with the news that's coming out from third-party sources and it being unreliable and them announcing projects and then canceling them much later. The problem I have is, and this is from somebody like you guys that kind of goes to the park, sees what's going on, listens to what goes on social media. The biggest issue I have, though, is Disney themselves, they have a PR department. Why can they not make announcements? Why do they rely on third-party sources like The Wrap, KTLA 5, ABC 7? You have the OC Register. You have a former Imagineer, Jim Scholl, releasing all this news, but yet the one person that should be talking about this stuff and releasing official statements goes quiet. And then they wonder why a lot of the fandom have trust issues when they say, oh, yeah, we're going to bring a new Tomorrowland. Oh, yeah, we're going to build Avatar and DCA in the Hollywood backlot. Because I just watched our good friend, OG, David from Fresh Baked on Fresh Baked Presents. He had a video he just put out, and he's actually putting the timeline, and I'm not saying he's right. Again, it's just pure speculation because nobody knows, including himself. He's thinking that Avatar probably will not start breaking ground until 2032. And if that is kind of the timeline they're going, because they're putting Tomorrowland ahead first, that gives the company enough time to cancel. And I agree with you guys. Avatar is actually growing on me quite a bit. I want to see it happen at DCA. It's just there's so much. I want to say there's so much negativity behind it, but the model was beautiful, and Disney really had the opportunity to literally speak for 5 minutes. That's all I needed, 5 minutes to talk about it at the parks panel, and they neglected to do so. And then people wonder why there are doubts about Avatar, and then they come out Sunday morning or Monday morning to the press saying, oh, well, we're going to put Avatar behind now Tomorrowland, and we're going to use Tomorrowland as a project to go forward first before Avatar.
Either do it or don't. Don't put the model on the showroom floor if you're not willing to talk about it on the convention stage. Exactly. And that's the kind of mind games that made me really upset for D23. I don't care. You want to cancel Avatar? It's a business decision. Whatever reason, that's fine. Don't play the mind games. We are just as much now. We know probably just as much now than we did even before D23. There's no certainty with this project. They did this half in, half out thing, like Weasley decisions here. We'll put the model out here, but we won't mention it on the convention floor. That way we have like this plausible deniability to back it up if we wanted to, because we didn't like fully commit. We're like halfway committed. it was a weasel move in my opinion. And I don't know. If they don't want to do it, then they shouldn't have had any of it out at all. But Rudio says that to just clone the Monsters Inc. door coaster at DCA. See, Rudio, though, I gotta respectfully disagree, bro. Well, here's the thing: DCA needs more everybody rides, not another roller coaster that like only some people can do. And how much Pixar are we going to have in this park? You have a huge part with a huge area with Pixar Pier. You have another 12 acres with Cars Land. Do we really want another 7 or 8 acres of Monsters now? It just seems like a lot of Pixar to me. Anyway, go ahead, Jared. Sorry, bro.
I was just going to say, I think I agree with you. If you are having hesitations about that, putting that model out there does kind of like tease a bit. But I think silence, like I think not mentioning it is sort of an answer in some ways. Maybe not that it's canceled, but that it's definitely not a priority thing. But from the get-go, that thing was such a strange thing to like. Iger announces it during an earnings call, and you're like, an earnings call. This is, and then then you're like, wait a minute, what? And then the whole rollout with it was just odd. Like if you're looking for people to get behind this project, it always seemed like it started off on a very weird foot with this. And I'll point, and I said the same thing in your video that we did yesterday, OG, that came out today. Yeah. You do have to give a new administration, a new leadership time, because a company the size of Disney, it's like you get in there. He's been 6 months. I mean, essentially, that's like moving to a house and like 2 days later, you're like, why is all this crap everywhere? And you're like, I'm still trying to figure out what's in the boxes. Like it takes time. So it could be a situation where, maybe they're still weighing options. Maybe that's why they didn't have a lot of details, because they're still internally weighing some of this stuff out. But other than they're just saying like, this is what we want to, the direction we want to go. I think there's still a lot of stuff that's like, this D23 may be a really odd one in the next few ones we get, given, this is Josh's first one, his first 6 months, or this is a new direction they're going in, which is going to require them, which I've often said I think they need to do. Don't use these D23s as just the only place to just have this massive dump of information on people. But I think they may be trickling it out more. And so I think you will see follow-ups, perhaps, I would hope. I mean, follow-ups, or maybe they go the Universal route where it's like, we might tell you what we're going to do, but we're not going to give you any details until like we're like a year and a half away out. And I think that would be interesting, because Universal does it, but they are used to that for Universal. Audience is not used to that for Disney. Like if Disney starts doing that, I think you're going to get a whole lot of people being pretty upset until they were able to prove that these things are good. And then, because I think for the most part, and they're not perfect, but I think a lot of the Universal fan base does trust their creative team. Like given the evidence of like Epic Universe and the Fast and Furious coaster, like obviously not Jimmy Fallon or like Supercharged, but like there's some things where they're like, okay, like we have confidence what they're doing here, so like we're not going to get up in arms. But
see, that's the thing, and OG's actually talked about it. Jared, you even talked about it. Disney's so far embedded about giving too much information out on projects, budgets, just too much information in general. And then on top of that, you have D23 that happens every 2 years. You have Destination D23, and they pump so much money into it. And to be fair, they get a decent amount back. And it's like almost like a cash cow for them to a point. So it's like if they stop cold turkey, then I think the fandom would freak out.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I will find out real quick. I was going to say, Rogue says maybe the trust on the Texas Kid Park was too much trust.
Oh,
I went to the park. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, the internet overreacted on that one. Like, if you've been, when it comes to that park, I'll put it this way: if you've been to the park and the criticisms are there, totally valid. Just looking at some pictures and having actually been there, lack of shade is real, but like that park got way too much hate, way too much, because it's not a bad park. I will contend. It's not. I'm not saying it's a great park. I'm not saying it's a, if you put that thing in Orlando with the whole part of Orlando, as a campus, I'd be like, this is garbage. But a regional theme park setting where that thing is, I think it's fine. So it's a weird thing. I saw that to point that out there, because I think that is another instance of fans like taking a few pictures and being like, what is this nonsense? And it's like, it's not like, I'm not saying there's not bare parts of that park, but like, that's like me commenting on, like, that'd be like me making a video being like, Disneyland's crap. I've never been.
Yeah.
Like, how could I even remotely speak to it?
Well, exactly. And that's partly why too, that I hope that Disney really weighs their options with stuff, especially when the stuff that like that hasn't really that people haven't been able to experience yet, right? And fans are like up in arms. Like Disney, if you have a good idea and you think this Pandora boat ride is going to be next gen, whatever, like do it. Like, okay, for example, when you listen to fans for like Galaxy's Edge, that's a valid fan complaint. People have had 7 years to enjoy Galaxy's Edge, and they've made a decision. That's totally valid. You should listen to fans when it comes to that, because you've had people in and out of that land experience it and give you feedback. That's good. It's been
like very similar feedback too. Like most people say the very similar things about that.
Exactly. But my issue is like when we have a concept that comes out, whether it be early on with Mission Breakout or even this Pandora thing more recently, and fans are like, nope, don't want it, hate it. You don't even know what it is, fandom, and you're already rejecting something that might actually be pretty dope. That's where I'm worried that Josh is going to listen to fans too much, because they might be throwing away a really good thing. Well, and they've done that before, whether it be Westcott or whether it be your Epcot stuff. We've seen it, and that worries me, No,
and you're not wrong, OG. I think personally, if Disney did a different approach, and I'm going to put it this way, if Disney did a different approach and they released the concept art, they released the concept art for Avatar, they gave us the model that we saw at this D23, but they did not say where it was going in DCA. Whether it was going to be DCA or Disneyland Forward being the Simba parking lot, if they didn't give that detail out until they were absolutely ready to put a shovel in the ground, I think there would not be this much backlash about Avatar coming to DCA. I'm going to be honest, because I do agree with you. People that have had the wonderful opportunity to go to Orlando and go to Animal Kingdom to experience, Avatar, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's absolutely beautiful.
It's also a great case study of like, you could have done an original concept IP for me personally, because like Avatar is not a draw for me. Like they're whatever. I've seen the first movie and I was like, it's okay. Like I didn't understand like why it was making so much money, and I still don't. But the land is fantastic. Like you go in there, especially at night, like it has some really cool elements to it. And I do like the comment here. It's like a blind date. She could be hot. She could be super hot or not, but you won't know until you meet her. And honestly, that's how I met my wife, by the way. God rest her soul, my grandma knew my wife her entire life. I never met her. And she was like, there's this girl I met. And I was like, I'm not getting fixed up with my grandma. What are you kidding me? And she was like, whatever. So my brother looked her up on Facebook, and he was like, I was like, well, I guess one bad date couldn't hurt. And then we hit it off and it was great. So like I could have, I wouldn't even have the life I have now if I wasn't like, thank goodness for Facebook and thank you, my grandma. But it's like, just because a set of circumstances isn't exactly how you think it should be in your mind. And especially with fans, we're talking about blue sky stuff. Like, people are mad because they have an idea of something they want. So they get very closed off to other stuff. And it's like, but it's like when you have a land like Galaxy's Edge, it's much easier to be like, well, I see. Okay, the land's here. If you did X, Y, and Z, this could be better. And that to me is more constructive criticism than trying to crowdsource blue sky projects. I think that is where you could go really off the rails. Because it's just like you'd have a million different opinions on what to do here, and you're never going to make everybody happy to begin with.
Well, 100%.
Well, see, okay. Let me ask you guys this with Avatar. Being that, like I said, they released where they want to put this land. I'm going to call it a land. I know they refused, but I'm going to call it a land. Being that they released the detail they want to put in the Hollywood backlot. I think the reason they did that, even though they were not ready to put a shovel in the ground, is because they know people like us will talk about it to the day's end. And I mean, it will go viral everywhere. And being that people would be interested, that can afford it, will go to DCA, give Disney the foot traffic, and obviously People will buy merch. People will buy food because they're in the park and it's hot or it's cold, whatever time of the year you go. And people will go to that Hollywood backlot that didn't really get attention for years. That's why they're choosing to put Avatar there. And people will start analyzing and trying to figure out, how's this going to fit? So that was a sneaky move by Disney, but also a smart move to increase attendance at DCA and the Disneyland Resort, because they released the detail that normally any other company like Universal and like Knott's Berry Farm and so on would probably not release that detail. They would say, oh yeah, a new ride's coming, here's some concept art, but they wouldn't say where it's going until they were ready. But Disney plays that game of, no, we're going to release too much information, that way we get maybe the return later down the road by people visiting the resort trying to figure out where we're going to put this project and how it's going to fit.
Yeah. Well, and Remy D brings up another good point too. Kind of like some Cali people don't want Orlando to get Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift because talking about maybe the Florida people or not wanting Pandora because we have it or whatever, which maybe there is some people, but that wouldn't bother me any. But even whenever I was telling people, because I had heard early on, this coaster in Orlando is going to be Fast and Furious. People are like, oh, I don't want this, blah, blah, blah. And then you see Hollywood's version. And you're like, yeah, I get Fast and Furious is a ridiculous franchise. But like that coaster, if you're a coaster fan, that looks insane. Yeah. And so you're going to get a great coaster. So it's like a lot of times it's like, I agree. You can listen to fans too much. But I think Disney's problem is they haven't listened to fans enough for so long.
And they're trying to make it up.
Like correction period where it's like, okay, we're going to do the lowest hanging fruit to make you guys a little bit more happy while we work on some of this other stuff we're doing. Maybe that could be part of the strategy, but I think undoubtedly, I think we're seeing the early breadcrumbs here, and I think we'll see more, to be quite honest. I think if you're a Josh tomorrow, the worst thing you could do is just keep things how they have been. And I think he has enough. I agree with you, OG. I think he's very savvy. I think he's more savvy than we even realize probably. And he's going to make more. He's going to make some moves, I think, that are a little bit more like he kind of seems like he has a pace of this. Even look at the Galaxy's Edge changes. Kathleen Kennedy was walking away. Bob Iger was just about out the door, and then those changes hit. And we had even speculated at the time, because that was before he was named CEO, that this was Josh. Like Josh was already shadow running the company in many ways, because all of a sudden this gets greenlit at that time. You're like, that's weird. And I think we've seen breadcrumbs that there is a different direction going here. And ultimately, like, it's just going to be, we look back over a couple of years here to see if this is really a direction that's been going. But I do think we are starting to see a little bit of move in that direction, which I do like. And I feel like I'm in a weird spot. I told you on OG's last night, I was defending Disney in the video, and I'm like, this is weird for me. I haven't ever hardly defended Disney on anything. And, I do like the rhetoric. It is rhetoric. I want to see action. I want to see what they do. I want to see what they do with, the Pandora project. Because even if something else comes along, I've been on that side of the thing where it's like you look for this thing coming, and then you're like, oh, not again. Like, this doesn't happen. Like, I want to see what they do and how they handle that if they don't go forward with it. That's going to be very curious how they handle that PR if they do switch it. And
I agree. And Dreamy says there's fans on both coasts have some sort of rivalry. Definitely. And he says on Twitter, which is Twitter
for sure.
Yeah, it's an absolute cesspool over there on Twitter. It is. Most healthy-minded people are like in the chat. We have Gator. We have a lot of East Coasters who are like, yeah, dude, it's all good. Jared, you mentioned it many times. You're like, yeah, man, I hope you guys get Pandora. And I've been saying, dude, Indiana Jones, the stuff that Florida is getting for Indy was my favorite part of the whole D23 panel.
I was excited for Indy because of what you guys have told me about, like, if it's anything close to your guys' Indiana Jones, I'm like, listen, I love Indy. Like, because at first I wasn't that excited about it, because just given where Indiana Jones kind of is right now.
Yeah, but when they went in the detail with Harrison Ford's,
I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if that is low key my favorite attraction of all the new stuff they're building is like that Indiana Jones thing. I just love that.
To be fair, I almost teared up. I almost teared up when they made that announcement, because I'm a huge Harrison Ford fan. So I damn near cried.
Harrison
Bro, he's amazing. And you know what? They got to celebrate him while we still have him. I know that sounds kind of morbid, but I mean, reality, he's very old, so they should absolutely lean into that. I love that. But like, yeah, like for Dreamy, like my issue, I love the fact that Florida got their flowers, as they say, right? I just want the West Coast to get flowers too. So yeah, I mean, most healthy-minded people are not out there trying to like, F the other side. No. I think we all just want to get cool stuff, or the healthy-minded normal people, right? We all just want cool stuff for both of these places. And yeah, so that's kind of where we stand. But we'll kind of see. Rogue Attraction says just like 90s rap. We have a potential video idea for that, Rogue, coming out soon. So stay tuned on that one.
Well, you'll notice the thumbnail for this was very Death Row Records coded, if you will. If you know that.
Yeah,
that
I could tell.
Infamous Vogue. What was that album cover? It was for what was it? Source? Was that picture taken for Source magazine back in the day?
I think so, yeah.
I think it was. I remember correctly.
Very familiar.
Yeah. No, it's a cool thing. Because I had that like from months ago, and then I didn't know what to do a thumbnail on, and I was like, oh yeah, I got that sitting in the bag there. I think they made you look a little like Snoop Dogg, theme park conductor. I think you're the Snoop Dogg in that image.
That's all right. That's all right. I'll take one for the team.
It works, Snoop's fine.
Take him for the team.
My opinion on Snoop may have changed over the years, but at one point he was a cool cat, man.
I used to really like Snoop until I dug into a little bit more about how he treated Pac, and my boy Pac. I was like, that was dirty. I don't know. There was something dirty about that, and it rubbed me the wrong way. And then he capitalizes on Tupac now that he's passed away. Like he had like a wine or something. It was like America's Most Wanted, and he was grifting off of Pac now. I'm like, this is kind of scummy, Snoop. Come on.
Yeah, he had there's some rumors that he was a snitch too. I don't know. I'm not trying to get involved in. There were rumors of it, but who knows if that's true. But I used to be very plugged into the hip hop stuff. I am not now at all. But at one point in time, I was all up on the Tupac. By the way, did you see that? I think they're prosecuting a guy for Pac's murder finally.
Yeah, Keefe D.
Yeah, Keefe D, which was a guy that long ago people were like, he's the one that did it, and nothing ever came of it.
Well, there was also, and I don't want to, I won't say his name, like Puffy, right? You guys know Puffy,
yeah, right?
He, there's actually word that maybe he was involved in all that. I saw an article that he might actually be in some legal hot water in regards to all that as well, which wouldn't shock me. He was always a POS, right?
He was involved. I always thought Puffy was involved on some level. A lot of people did, but
crazy.
We'll see. Before we get to our next story, we got some super chats in here to say hello to everybody. Got Kiki and Luca, member for 8 months as theme park and legend, the conductor.
Absolutely.
I think you need to get a choo choo sound on the.
I need to do it. Like I mean, for now, I'm working on it, but I think one of these years I'm gonna get one of those boards that you guys have, and believe me, once I do,
dude, yeah. I need to put more stuff on mine.
Off the rails with the sounds. I'm telling you,
my favorite one is when you hear something you don't like, I just pull out the Michael Scott.
No, God, please.
It always works. It works anytime. But
dude,
we also do have a. Oh, go ahead.
Whenever I'm down, dude, The Office hits for me. I'm okay, I'm good.
Yeah, great. The Office is fantastic. There's so many memes out of The Office. It's unstoppable. We also have some jewels here. We got from MA5142 has 5 jewels. Thank you for those. Stu My Rick has 500 jewels. Thank you, Stu My Rick. And he has a series of jewels here. We got 30 jewels, 30 jewels, 10 jewels. Let's see, we had 10 more jewels and 10 more jewels. Thank you, Stu My Rick and MA5142. All right, let's get this story is interesting. And I've actually seen something similar to this firsthand. And I think this one a little viral on social media. It says, guest outraged over reckless scooter abuse at Walt Disney World. This comes from WDW News Today. Reckless scooter abuse. It says, users across Instagram and TikTok are criticizing viral Walt Disney World guests who apparently are abusing access to rentable scooters, a.k.a. electric conveyance vehicles. And we will, okay, this is, I'll bring this up here. We'll see if we can, is this shown on there? Oh, I got to click over. Hold on. It loaded in here. Well, you can see it on that screen right there.
Yeah,
you see people
I could see
that
it.
more than likely aren't in need of UTVs. Yeah, and they're using them. And I've seen this before. I think the one that really got people upset was this one, where you had a bunch of people in them just doing circles in Epcot. And the thing is, I've seen this before, where I've seen a whole family before that they were not disabled. They had all bought scooters, and we know, by the way, they weren't disabled because they would jump off of them and jump back on them. And they were talking about, we ain't walking anywhere around this park today. And I was just like, okay. And so, like, I guess the question is, does Disney do anything about this? Because if everybody starts doing this gets way out of hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this. This irritates me more than anything because, like you said, those scooters are meant for people that, obviously can't walk very well. Granted. But this pisses me off to a whole nother level because what we just had not too long ago, months ago, out here in Disneyland with that viral TikToker and his girlfriend freaking doing what they did, getting swatted at Disneyland, and all these stupid little TikTok, viral things like these ladies that, again, I'm not going to say I'm not going to speak further into why they're using them because I don't want to sit there and start judgmenting people. I'm just not like that. But I can clearly tell they don't need to use those. But what I don't like is it's giving Disney that excuse to kind of throw it back on influencers and go more towards, okay, well, maybe we don't allow the cameras, the tripods, people doing live streams in the park, people doing content because of this type of behavior. And it's disgusting to see because, again, I'm not saying I make my livelihood, doing YouTube content and social media content. It is a hobby of mine to kind of get away from my 9-to-5 job. And I'm telling you right now, if people like these lovely ladies, if you want to even call them that, I call them daredevils on scooters, let's sit there and ruin the experience for me to go to the parks and go film content for my community. It's really going to piss me off.
Yeah, well, and you bring up a great point, Conductor, in that social media, and I don't want to sound like grandpa screaming at back in my day. I don't want to sound like that, but like social media has really ruined our society in a lot of ways because a lot of this kind of BS that these people are doing with these scooters is all for the internet. It's all for filming it and posting it on Instagram or TikTok or something. And so a lot of bad behavior is rooted for that internet cloud. Even the Tiana stuff, you've been seeing a trend now of people trying to jump out of the logs, right? I mean, that's all rooted with the social media. So Disney has to really nip this in the bud because this can get crazy really, really fast. And if you don't need a scooter, these are not toys. These are for people that are maybe severely overweight and they can't walk, 500 pounds, whatever, or they're people with health conditions, you're taking a scooter away from someone that actually needs it. And to get in these scooters and play bumper cars with them at the park is pretty disgusting, dude. I'm sorry.
It's also just not smart to bring attention to it. If you're going to have a parade in the middle of Epcot to kind of, because what you're doing is you're flaunting that you have scooters and everybody else has to walk. And it becomes some sort of status thing. And the thing is, and I have family members that are disabled, that they do need scooters. Many of them have their own, but they only have so many scooters in the park each day. So if you get a whole bunch of people buying these things up, guess what? People who actually need it cannot use it. And all you're asking for is and we've seen Disney do it time and time again, and Universal would be the same situation if it happened there. If enough people start, taking advantage of something, they will come crack down on it. So you have more regulation, or maybe, I don't know if they'd increase the prices on these things, but they might get to the point where you have to show you are handicapped to get one or something like that.
See, that's what I mean with the disability pass at Disneyland, because I have a friend at work, his girlfriend uses it. And he tells me all the time when he goes to Universal or he goes to Disneyland and he goes to Halloween Horror Nights, he says it is such a process now to get a DAWs pass than it was in the past because people just abused it.
And they were openly abusing it. I'm not going to put anybody on blast. I knew people that were getting DAS passes and just going up and saying, I have anxiety. And they did not. They did not have any disability. And it became an open thing. And so when Disney cracked down on that, a lot of people got mad at Disney. But I was like, I knew a couple of people that worked inside of Disney that even said, like, this has been a problem for a long time. And it's just like, if you have people that are manipulating a system, especially in a place like Disney World, things like that, it's like, if a small group does it, okay, whatever. It's still not cool, but it's not affecting. Once you hit kind of like critical mass on some of this stuff, that's when it becomes a big issue. And it's just one of these things where, personally speaking, are there times in the park, like when I'm pushing my kids in a stroller and I'm like, it'd be nice if someone pushed me around. But you know what? I'm very thankful that I am fully capable to walk around a theme park. And I love walking around a theme park. And I wouldn't, if somebody offered me a scooter, I wouldn't. I'd be like, no, I don't need it. Like, I'm not in need of this thing.
No.
And I think, like, it's just a societal thing of, you don't need it, yet you're getting it. Everybody that looks at you knows you don't need it. And it's just because you don't want to walk around a theme park.
Well, and here's the thing too, Jared, to your point, if you have, let's say you have a family member who has a handicap placard that you put in your car, right? And you decided, well, you know what? I'm not handicapped, but I'm going to use their placard and I'm going to go and so I get better parking when I go to the movies or something, right? Out here, I don't know how it is. Each state's probably different. Out here in California, that's like a $250 fine.
It is.
Ooh.
Right? For using a handicap placard if you're not really in need of it. If you're using like a family member's placard. Now, what these people are doing with the scooters is basically that same thing. You are not in need of these things, and you're using these scooters, in a bad way. So, I mean, look, the state will fine you for doing this kind of stuff, taking away a spot from a handicapped person. Disney's going to come down. If this is a widespread problem, and our friend Gator in the chat saying, don't even get me started on it. So clearly in Florida, at least at Walt Disney World, there's a lot of problems with this.
There's a lot of scooters at Walt Disney World. A lot of scooters.
Well, that's crazy. Go ahead.
See, that's what I mean. Because let me ask you, OG, because we're both on the West Coast.
Sure.
Have you ever experienced being at Disneyland, whether it's Disneyland or DCA, and having these type of problems at all? Besides that Oblivion dude?
There was somebody else, wasn't there? Like recently?
I've seen people abuse other things like
the DAWs pass.
That for sure. That's rampant. And then also even with strollers, I've seen people abuse that, like kids that are too old for that, and they kind of put them in there, things like that. Okay. I've seen abuses of all this stuff to some degree, but go ahead.
Well, the only reason I bring that up is because me and you have consistently said the Disneyland Resort is a locals park. You look at Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando being a tourist destination, I'm not surprised that almost every other month we're seeing some type of bad behavior with some type of, situation, whether it's scooters, people starting fights over a stupid churro or whatever it might be. But it's just like exactly my point. So, I mean...
And to be fair, most people, and this is one of these things too, where it's like, are most people doing this? No. 98% of people in a theme park are not doing this stuff. But it only takes, it's like a society thing too. It takes a little bit of people to cause problems for everybody else. And I feel for it. And I even felt for the DAS people, because I knew people that were, had to get DAS and now they're denied it. Basically due to people abusing it. And so, like, once you start implementing these things, like, there are people that end up having things that they rely on to go to a theme park they're not able to do. I mean, we even saw after Stardust Racers and that tragedy that happened there. Yeah. That gentleman should not have ridden that ride. He did. That tragedy happened. And then they changed it to where now people that are in wheelchairs that may have been able to ride many of these rides before, now they can't. And so these are the things that happen in a company the size of a Disney and Universal. And it's just one of these things where, and someone pointed out that they don't have this problem in Japan. It's what happens when you don't have a high society. when there's no longer trust amongst your fellow person of like, you know, they're going to act in their I guess a responsible manner. And once people start doing that, then you have to have rules because people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And it's annoying. And I just feel like this is leading toward a Wall-E future, what they said in Wall-E, where everybody's on a scooter and it's just like it becomes pandemonium at that point.
Well, I agree. And this is why I'm very much against this like thing where, like, you know, out here in California, like with the Magic Key people, right? The locals who go like 3, 4, 5 times a week, and then they get on TikTok and they're like, oh, I have this hack and that hack, right? To like skirt the system and do all this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, look, these people I don't think these people mean any like ill intention or whatever, but like the outcome is not good, because what you're doing when you're encouraging people to hack the system, what you're doing is you're forcing Disney to buckle down on you even harder now, because now you're advertising that how to subvert their policies. Like, come on, guys, right? Go ahead.
See, it's quite interesting because it actually leads into another topic that you guys are going to talk about, is being that with all the cameras that are at the parks, whether it's Disneyland Resort, Walt Disney World, you know, and being that Disney has, you know, a social media team. Okay. Every company has one. I don't care what company it is. They all have them. And I'm actually kind of surprised they don't. And again, maybe I'm overstepping my bounds by saying this, but I'm surprised they don't crack down on that. Like, I mean, if they are watching social media, they're watching YouTube and watching like our channels and people on TikTok and Instagram Live and X and so on, so on, so on. I'm actually surprised when these people make that type of content, let's say on TikTok, and then let's say a week later or a couple days later, they show up to the resort and they still let them into the park. And I know that's borderline policing people, but then again, it's like, where you draw the line on that?
Yeah.
Seriously, where do you draw the line on that? Because if you're a company and you're aware of, let's say, again, Oblivion showing up, and he's known for, you know, having SWAT, you know, SWAT
causing issues for guests in the park.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean. Then why would, like, the first camera that would see him would be in the park instructor? Why wouldn't security go up to him and say, hey, you know what? We can't allow you into the resort. And again, I know that seems harsh. I know that seems unfair. But then again, would you rather nip it in the butt, you know, outside the resort to a point, or would you rather wait until something happens inside the resort and now you have a bigger problem?
Well, yeah. Well, the thing too with people that are like, you know, like influencers and what have you. I know, was it Kai Cenat? He was at Disney World with Tyla, right? And I think that they had to leave early because they were causing such a scene.
Which they will do if like you have a celebrity. If usually they're like, they have VIP tours and stuff like that to kind of like, that way they don't get crowds. But like, let's say if you're an influencer and a bunch of people start coming up to you, they will shut that down. And it may not be anything of your fault or you're doing, but they'll be like, we can't have you being like a sideshow in the park, because they want the park to be the show, not another person in there.
Exactly. And sometimes I think Disney, at least out here in California, I think sometimes they do give these celebrities like a guide, and that sometimes
plaids.
Yeah, the plaids.
They're like trying to be incognito too. Like they'll kind of, you know, they got like a hat. Like Matt Damon was around Disneyland like I think it was last week.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's like, you can tell it's him if you really look, but like just by walking by me, no, it might be one of those things. But like, you know, he wasn't like had a camera out, want to make a big deal about it. No. Versus these influencers are trying to be seen. And I think that is something that is very different from different types of, I guess you could say, celebrities. But I don't know. I saw this and I was just like, it's just one of those things where, you know, has this happened in the past before? I'm sure. But now you got social media, and not only are they doing it, they're putting it out there and it's being filmed. And it's just, I could definitely see there being a crackdown on this, on something else again, that the people that end up suffering from this are people that would have to go through extra steps to be able to use things that they normally were able to use without any issue. And I think that's unfortunate.
And I completely agree with you. And then people will come down on Disney as being like, oh my God, look at Disney, look what they're doing. It's like, well, you guys, like, you know, can you blame them? You know, and that's the unfortunate thing, is that Disney will get the heat for it, for just trying to protect people that actually need this stuff, because people are abusing it and trying to get internet points, you know?
Yeah,
very true.
And Led Ruma says, if I ever see Jared at a park, you better believe I'm yelling influencer while pointing at him just to make sure people are aware. I would be looking around and be like, who insulted me? Who called me an influencer? That is, I didn't know we had beef in the park. But no, I mean,
God,
you know, it's just, I've seen it a few times. I want to say back in the day, Tim Tracker had an issue with that at one point. Like they were kind of having like small little like, hey, come see me in the park, but it became too big. And, you know, it's like, it's and now, great, obviously he, you know, handled it different. I'm sure. I think now at this point, they, you know, he says hi to people, but don't line up and, you know, you know, stuff like that. But it's a fine line with this stuff. But just knowing how Disney operates, like if this continues to be a thing, they will crack down.
100%.
They just 100% will.
And it's if they crack down, it's only going to hurt everybody, not just a small amount of people. It's going to hurt everybody, and I don't want to see that. You know, I use, like I said, I use my platform to kind of escape from my 9-to-5 job. I use my platform to sit there and give a perspective on what I'm experiencing at the parks on any given day I go. That's what I like doing. And some little jerk off like Oblivion or these ladies that would ruin that for me, it would be a massive disservice, because it gives me the opportunity to, again, forget about work, get out of the house, go do something fun, and do something that is good for, you know, mental health, and do something that's, you know,
well, it's something you enjoy, and you're just giving, like, I've always had the issue, like, you know, I always tell people all the time, a lot of people disagree, they agree, whatever it is.
Sure.
I'm just giving you my perspective on certain things going on. But one thing I won't ever do is, like, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, you may disagree with me, but I'm not going to get on camera and be like, I'm just going to, you know, have some sort of propaganda. But I think that's why YouTube channels are a thing, because people say, you know, I watch channels a lot that I don't necessarily agree with the person all the time, but I think they're entertaining. I'm like, hey, I'm like, I don't agree with, and you're never going to agree with everything somebody says, but it's a fun thing to do. And, you know, hopefully stuff like this and like Oblivion and all these things like that doesn't mess that up, because there are people that cause problems. If there's really good content creators or really good people that do try to, like Carp Walrus down here in Disney World and Universal. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's really good, really respectful, doesn't bother people. And there's people that do, most people do it that way. It's just the ones that cause problems, get the attention.
Like you said, Jared, and this is probably going to be the last thing I say for the night, but like you just said, me and OG have talked about to the cows come home about Avatar, and we have our disagreements, but at the end of the day, there's two different perspectives about Avatar, and at the end of the day, we walk away, shake our hands with each other, and say, "Hey, that was a great conversation." You know what I mean? That's the type of reality we should be having in public, and we don't. We have behavior like this.
You're absolutely correct. Go ahead.
Even Seymour Duck here with a 250 Canadian with a duck there. I mean, Seymour and I have been on videos where we come in on opposite ends. And a lot of times throughout the video, we'll just be like, well, you don't see things that differently. We just have different interpretations. And it's like, that's fine. Like, I don't hate Seymour. I don't think Seymour hates me. You just have a conversation about it. And, you know, I've always said too, if I'm wrong, I learn something new. So I'm like, I don't really have a big thing. Like if I think my opinion on something, and you're not going to always get it right, but it's like, hey, you get new information and you just move along, sort of thing. I don't think it's that big of a deal, personally.
Exactly. It's in the group chat, for example, you know, Jay Shear, he was trying to say that Tupac went to Juilliard, and I was like, no, there's no way, not my Pac, you know. But as men, we you know, agree to disagree. You know,
some of us might say OG was delusional in his perspective, but it's fine. You know,
exactly.
If we want to go on the meme train, I'm going to say, well, tomorrow copies OG's hairstyle.
Oh, he's
Exactly.
taking notes. Yeah, he's like,
taking
yeah.
notes.
If he runs an OG in the park, the first thing he's going to ask him is like, "What's that? What do you got in there? What's the hair product?"
Exactly. Give me the inside scoop. Come on.
Give me the logo. It'd be that little like you shake your hand, get close, you just whisper. It's like, "What are you using in your hair?" And he's like, "I need to know."
Hey, if one day I suddenly get like a C-suite office, you know why, right?
OG told him the secret sauce, and he got moved up. Yeah,
I like that.
That would make sense.
The new office of Orange Grove 55.
Maybe there's a chief people officer. OG will be the chief hair officer. Gotta have a hair officer. He's just go around like Josh is like, "Is it good?" He's like, "Come here, let me help you real quick."
Come here, guy.
OG's like, "I'm not a stylist, okay? I'm too cool for that. I'm the hair official."
Oh, I love it. I know
Conductor has got to get out of here. And before you go, first off, thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate it. Always have a good time when you come on here and when on your channel as well. Let them know where they can find you. And while you do that, I'm going to tell real quick to my kids good night, like super fast. I'll be right back, but I'll holler at you later if I don't see you before you get out of here.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Jared, so much. So you can find me, Theme Park Conductor, on YouTube, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Theme Park Conductor, on X at Theme Conductor, TikTok at Theme Park Conductor 1, and every Sunday at 5 or 7 p.m. for Conductor Sunday live stream, where we just had Orange Grove 55 on, a frequent co-host on that live stream, and also one of our great moderators on Theme Park Conductor. So very, very blessed to have him part of the Theme Park Conductor community. Also, we are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. Woo! Let's go. The needle is moving, and I mean moving. I'm not trying to reference, Bob Iger saying there's shovels in the ground. I'm talking like the needle is moving. Okay.
Yes. Well, and Conductor, I do want to promote you a little bit here because you recently did. I was watching it. I loved it. A recent construction update with the Esplanade. Right.
Yes.
And you went into the Esplanade. You went into the area that will maybe be Pandora.
I hope so.
And you also went into Avengers Campus. Very cool. Following all the construction work. It was a great video. Actually, doing really well too.
Yeah. It's doing amazing. And again, when I put these videos out, I never expect to have the views I do. And again, the love and support all comes from the people in the chat and the community. I cannot be more appreciative about that. You guys are the inspiration of why I do what I do when I go to the parks. Like, I mean, it's also a great thing to have friends like Orange Grove 55, Jared from Capture the Magic, and so many others that we have these conversations, and it's healthy. So there's nothing wrong about me and OG disagreeing about Avatar, or me and Jared disagreeing about something in Walt Disney World. It's a healthy conversation, and on top of that, you have the chat to help with that. And again, that's the type of reality I wish we were in, but we're just not. We're in the reality of finding entertainment as jackass behavior of 3 beautiful women on scooters that probably don't need scooters in the middle of Epcot. Let's be fair.
It's crazy. No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely correct. And it's cool to have these conversations because, like, I mean, like when you get on like X, especially, there's very few like civil, polite debates. It's very ugly over there. So it's fun to come on here, and we can all talk and nerd out and talk shop, and we can disagree, and we can all still be friends and laugh about it and the whole thing. So it's great. But Conductor, I know you're off to record some content. Speaking of content, so have a great recording, and everybody follow, support, subscribe. Theme Park Conductor. Him and I will be doing some content later this week too. So Conductor is a very busy man. Busy man.
Stay busy. Like, I mean, I think I might need a secretary. Like every day there's content, and I love it.
Yeah,
I do it for you guys. Like, I mean, sometimes my job, I hate it, but you know what? I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm almost out of here. I get to go home and make content. Perfect. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And you and I drop a ton of content. And sometimes I'll get messages from people like, man, how do you do all that content? I'm like, bro, when you're having a good time, it's super easy. Like,
Totally.
like my 9 to 5 job, I'm like every minute of that is like torture. And I'm like, is it ready? Is it ready yet? This stuff, I can do this all day long. Talk this shit with you guys, bro. It's all good, right? You know, so if you're having a good time, it's easy to do it. You know, I can't even do 2 minutes of overtime on my regular job. It drives me crazy.
That's true.
You know, it drives you crazy. But anyway, Conductor, everybody give a big shout to Mr. Theme Park Conductor. Follow, subscribe to him. And it's always good to see you, brother. Have a good one, okay?
Will do. See you guys later.
Later. All right, so we're going to wait for Jared to come back. But Theme Park and Things with Johnny says, we never had issues till these TikTok people and kick streamers came to the parks. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's an issue. Social media in general, Theme Park and Things is an issue. And look, I'm not one of these people that's going to come out here and say like all social media is bad and blah, blah, blah. I utilize social media to do these videos and interact with everybody. And there is a lot of good stuff that comes out of social media. At the same time, though, Theme Park and Things is not wrong. There is a lot of douchey behavior out there on the interwebs. And it's very, very unfortunate. And that bad behavior, unfortunately, affects a lot of people that tries to behave, and it's a huge issue. Remy D, give us a review of the Mando and Grogu overlay of Smuggler's Run. Okay, yeah. Remy, I'm glad you brought this up. I actually was at the parks for D23 weekend with the one and only Mr. Webba and Alan from Almighty Coasters and his lovely girl, Lexi. But we got to ride Smuggler's Run. This is my first time actually riding it with the new Mando like overlay. I liked it a lot. I was telling Webba, I think the scenery or whatever, the landscapes that you're traveling through is much, much better. The issue that Webba and I both had, though, with even this new one with Mando, I don't know, the gunfire, the blasters, it still seems very video gamey, and it's not coming from the right spot on the Falcon. Isn't it usually the bottom and the top, Jared?
Well, I think where you're shooting, supposedly in the Millennium Falcon, you're like, aren't you like off to the right, or you're off to the side of the ship? But
right.
It's like you're this very narrow cockpit through the whole thing. But it's a better overlay than was there. But my issue is just that ride it's the whole thing with the piloting system. It's like if you're not a pilot, everybody else is just like, okay.
Yeah. Over here, just pushing a button that lights up, right? Like,
right. And they did give you some more stuff with Grogu. He pops up when you're like an engineer and stuff. Like they did add some things to it, but it's still kind of like my daughter, if she's not the pilot, she's just like, I don't even want to ride this. I'm like, I get it. Because it's like that's the most fun thing to do is pilot it. And it's I think the issues with that ride still stand. I think it would be better if it was more Star Tours like, and it was just like a simulator that you kind of passively had some interaction with, but it flew you through these missions a little bit. But
yeah, I agree. I think we talked about this before too. Like when I'm at a theme park, I don't want to work too much, man. I just want to get in a vehicle and just let them do the work,
Yeah, I can agree with that. Well, especially like if the single rider on there, it's like you get stuck with a family and then you're just in this thing and like you're definitely not gonna be a pilot. And then you're just like with this group of people that like you have no clue. It's just kind of weird. Like at least with ours, it's not only single rider, it's like dual rider. So 2 people can get in the single rider line. And it can make it go quicker, but it's still kind of, I don't know. It's still just, I think in theory, Smuggler's Run is really cool. Like the Millennium Falcon, you're inside of it. It's just the execution just never has quite hit it for me, at least.
No, that's fair. And I actually kind of like though when like some parents let their like 6-year-old pilot. I love the chaos of it all.
It's chaos, undoubtedly. Yeah, you're just hitting everything and just all the red lights going crazy. But yeah, the best era of that ride was actually funny enough during COVID because you would get a whole cockpit to yourself. I rode that ride numerous times where it was just me in there alone. And like that was fun. I was like, I could do this. Like, but it's like once you get, once they brought the other side back, I was like, okay. It is what it is.
Do you think they're going to, before I move on, do you think they're going to actually, the plan for Smugglers is to sort of make it like a Star Tours where they can promote the new movie with it? Like, for example, like, do you think that the next one will probably like be Starfighter or something and they'll kind of continue that?
I mean, probably. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That's going to be really curious because I don't think the Mando and Grogu overlay has really moved the needle on that ride. At least in Disney World, like it didn't do anything for the wait times for the most part. Like opening day of that new edition of it, it was still a 15-minute wait at like 4 o'clock.
Webba and I walked on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and that was D23 weekend. We walked on.
Yeah, it just doesn't have a lot of people want to take their picture in front of it, but I don't think the ride itself has a lot of demand per se to put out there. But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they'll continue. I would just be glad if we just get the John Williams music. That's all they got to give me, and I'll be somewhat happy. I would be. That's still so interesting. If I had one question to ask Josh, I'd just be like, why can't we at least just get the music in Disney World? Even if the other stuff comes years later, that's fine. But like, just put the music in. It would be so much better.
Do you think that's Disney? Because, okay, so I brought this up, I think, last theme park in, and I was like, well, it's free. Just play the music. But then someone in the chat said, like, well, it's not free. They got to pay Williams for every time they play that stuff. They got to pay Williams. Williams gets a check, right? Do you think there's something with that? Like where they don't want to play it in both spots because it's more expensive to play it in both spots in terms of like Williams and his royalties and all that good stuff?
It could be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there is something with that. I would be surprised if it wasn't like it every time it plays. I would imagine they could have some sort of like mass licensing agreement, but I'm sure they have to pay extra for it. But I mean, you built a land that's you spent $1 billion on each land, if not more. It's like I don't know what that cost would be, but I think given how much better it seems like it makes that land to me, I think it would be worth it to go that extra mile to do it. Which realistically, like if they did it in Disneyland, they'll do it in Disney World at some point.
They have
At least
to.
I would be shocked if we're 5 years down the road and it's still not in Disney World. That to me would just be weird.
That is kind of weird. It was weird to me too with Galaxy's Edge. They were like carbon copies when they opened, but now it seems like any kind of entertainment stuff that happens, like new changes, it's only Disneyland. And I don't know if it's only Disneyland because it's kind of like we have like a locals market, so they're trying to keep it fresh more. Where Disney World like tourists, so they don't really like it's once every decade visit, so they don't really care as much. I don't really know, but
it could be that. It also could be. I mean, they're headquartered in California, so it could be like they do it first there. My guess has been all the time like they figure out what works, what doesn't. Eventually, they take the SOP and take it over to Disney World. I think that's why a lot of times it happens at Disneyland first because like they're closer over there. Like Imagineering is closer over there. They can kind of like be more hands-on with it during that process. But it could also be because it's a locals park and Disney World does have much more, I guess I would say passive traffic. Like people just hear Star Wars like, oh, let's go to Star Wars Land. So it probably maintains a higher amount of people in there than Disneyland's does. So I don't know. That'd be a good question. Actually, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, does Disney have to pay John Williams money?
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
Because I think
I would think they would, but maybe not.
Let's see here. Let's see what it says. It says here, okay, it's searching. It says potentially yes. More complicated than Disney has to pay John Williams. The key distinction is who owns the copyright and what rights are being used. So Disney doesn't necessarily have to pay John Williams directly. They don't really know. It's a long-winded answer here. It seems like it's unknown. I mean, that's the thing. Even if Disney owns Star Wars, they may not have that copyright on the music itself. That may be John Williams because he wrote it.
Right. Because even though they own the music, he was the talent behind the music. Like, even though technically Disney owns the movie Star Wars, I'm sure Mark Hamill still has to get his checks when they play the movie, though. It's like Williams is kind of like the same. I feel like the same kind of thing where he would have to get some sort of like residual check or something.
Yeah, there's probably something in there. I'm guessing that I think Rogue's right. I don't think that contract is public. So it does say that John Williams can and possibly does receive royalties from Disney for use of Star Wars music in the parks, but they wouldn't necessarily write him a check every time they play, like, say, Imperial March.
Gotcha. So it's like what you were saying, like a bulk
A
licensing.
lot of times it's like a bulk licensing thing. A lot of times I would imagine that's what that would fall into, but that's an interesting question.
That is.
I'll dig around. I'll ask around and see if I can actually find out. I feel like that's something that it wouldn't be that big of a deal if they told you. I don't know what it would really change, unless maybe it is super secretive. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I love John Williams. Off topic, but I love that man.
Dude,
he is such a
music. It's so good.
Bro.
It's just, I mean, that's the crazy thing about, if you look at what, especially Universal has gotten right about their lands, especially like because of Wizarding World, it's just the music they play. Like, the minute you walk in, like, if you think of movies, how much like if you think about Star Wars or Harry Potter without the soundtracks, those movies have a completely different feel to them.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, I've said this, it's the same thing about the lands. Like, if you have the music accompanying it, like Super Nintendo World, you have all that Nintendo sounds and music playing. It just creates a more immersive atmosphere. So I still, even if they have to pay, I would imagine at some point it's still, at least I'm hoping, it still comes to Disney World.
I think it will. I think you guys are going to get it. And I do see there is a renewed interest or sense of urgency when it comes to Florida lately. Yeah. Because I do think Universal is tapping into that market share more than what Disney's comfortable with. So I think that I think you will. I would imagine. I'm just surprised they didn't announce that at D23. That was surprising to me.
I am too. I thought that would have been like especially as light as it was in some of this stuff, like that would have been an easy one to just throw out there. Just be like, hey, this is coming in like whatever it is, 6 months or whatever the date is. But we'll see. I have hope it still comes because it's, I'm not gonna lie. If you stick that John Williams music in there and you got Darth Vader walking around, I'm gonna go to Galaxy's Edge. I'm gonna enjoy it a little bit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but I think they might. I'll be curious about Starfighter though. I think there's gonna be a lot of heavy cross promotion, especially where Star Wars is. You could really see them pushing that because they got Ryan Gosling involved in it now. Yeah, I could see them having a pretty heavy push for that. So we'll see when's that movie coming out? Next year?
I think next year, isn't it? Like next May, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, if I remember correctly.
I mean, there's a lot riding on that bad boy. I'd tell you that much.
Well, that's it. I mean, what do they do? What do they do if that doesn't hit? Is a good question. Like, I don't know what direction they go at that point, because at this point, it's like you'd have to. I mean, I don't even know. Like, if that thing flops,
oh man,
which I don't know if it will. I mean, Ryan Gosling is still. He's a big enough star, especially lately. I think him alone in that will gain interest, and so I think for most movies, if the word of mouth is good on it, it's got a really good chance. It's just. I'm curious about the appetite. Like, if it is a good movie and let's say Ryan Gosling has the star power, what it has been done to Star Wars where that still wouldn't be successful. Like, if it's like, that'd be the crazy thing. If it's a really solid movie and everything and it still doesn't do well, that's probably a bigger problem if you're trying to figure out how to fix Star Wars, because then you're talking about like major brand repair and what is their approach to that?
Well, yeah, if it's a great movie and people still don't care, I mean, that's rough. Because you can fix, okay, if it's a bad movie and people don't see it, that's fixable. Okay, right. We'll make a good movie next time. But if it's good and people are loving it and no one sees it anyway,
yeah,
that's a bigger problem. I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what they would do with that. I don't. Maybe they would take a break for a while, but I don't even know if the breaks really matter, because they took a break after Rise of Skywalker. We didn't get a movie for how long, and it still didn't really make a difference, Well,
but they did have a bunch of slop show up on Disney Plus, though. That didn't help at all. Like, that's the true. Acolyte didn't help them any. I mean, some of this stuff, like, I think a lot of people did like Andor. I didn't see it. I did hear people say they liked it. Some people liked Ahsoka. I did not like Kenobi. Acolyte was, in my opinion, was terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I think that didn't help him at all. So that would be very curious, because that'll be the best.
Well, it's also very interesting. I know we're going off the beaten path, but just one last thing. Josh is on this thing. Josh DeMauro is on this thing right now. We heard it at the Parks panel. We're listening to fans.
Yeah.
And he does love to give people what they want. So I'm curious, now that he's running, the studio end of it too, really. I mean, Dana technically is, but he's her boss still, right?
Right.
So are they going to do more of the fan servicey stuff? Are they going to do stuff that like fans been asking for a long time? I mean, they might. It's definitely on brand for DeMauro and his team, I would think.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't really a DeMauro thing because this is already set in motion, but I think Doomsday is fan service on some level, because what did people say they wanted back? That, well, the original guy. So you got Steve Rogers back, not as Cap, but as Steve Rogers. You got Thor back. You did bring RDJ back. Now you got the Russo brothers involved with bringing Doom. So like they clearly are, at least Marvel speaking, are kind of in more of a like, okay, we hear the feedback here. We're gonna, we'll see what they do with like X-Men going forward and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things inside the company could be beneficial to actually listen to fans. And like you said, you can go too far, but I think with things like Star Wars and Marvel, you have enough of a library to know what's popular and what's not within the overall fan base. And I think at this point, the sequel trilogy I think the thing if you really want to get people back, and I don't think they'll do it, would be decanonize the sequel trilogy. I don't know if they have the appetite to do it, but if they find themselves, let's say Starfighter fails, I mean, at that point, it's like, you're kind of at the bottom of the barrel. Like you don't have a lot of good options left at this point, other than just milking what is left of Star Wars, which is still probably decent on some level, like the original trilogy and celebrating that stuff. But if you're really wanting to keep Star Wars going as a brand, like you may have to start thinking outside the box, start doing some wild stuff.
Well, Seymour is saying that Zelda and Starfighter are being released 1 month apart. I mean, that's going to be tough, man, because Zelda
might be big.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, Zelda could be massive. I hope Zelda is really good.
Me too.
I hope it is very good. I've liked what I've seen so far, and to be fair, I've liked what I've seen from like the X-Men casting and things like that. Yeah, the movie side is interesting because that's the one that'll take the longest to turn around if they're going to turn stuff around. And what if we start seeing some major like changes from that? Would be very interesting, of like big time people leaving or new people coming in, or what would be wild is if they got desperate enough or to the point they bring back John Lasseter. Now that would be a move if you were able to John back, would be very interesting, but who knows what the chances of that are.
That would be an interesting move for sure. I think there might have been an opportunity for that. I just don't think Lasseter has done enough on his own to for them to take the risk on him.
He hasn't done anything on his own, to be fair.
Yeah,
that is very true. It's hard to replicate what Pixar. I mean, you're even finding right now, Disney themselves having a hard time replicating what Pixar was, let alone just John Lasseter on his own. So it was almost like it's like a sports team when you got all these groups of guys together and they're like solid and they all go off on their own teams, and like a lot of them just don't do good anymore. You're just like, they're not just bad all of a sudden. It's just like it was that right mix of people that were there, and like the right leadership. It was just a great fit for everybody. And then now you just don't quite have that. And that's almost, if not impossible, to really recapture. Like, it's like, I don't know of any, I'm trying to think of a studio that's really like recaptured their former glory all the way. And I don't know. I mean, Marvel's trying right now. I think
Disney Animation did a few, so they lost their mojo when Walt died
in the 90s. They definitely did.
They got it back in the 90s. Yeah.
Yep. That's a good point. But even that was a massive effort by Eisner, though, too. Like, he made that a mandate of like, we need to bring this back and what it was. But yeah, I hope it can. I mean, they don't have any problem with the sequels. It's just the original stuff. And I don't think Hexed is going to do very well.
I don't either.
I feel like Hexed is Elio 2.0, really, from the vibe I get from that.
It doesn't feel. It's weird. It doesn't feel like a Disney. It feels like a DreamWorks-y or Illumination kind of thing or something.
And you've made that point before. Like, Pixar and Disney Animation don't have like their own distinctive personalities anymore.
No,
they kind of just feel like the same. Like, even the Hexed, I'm not even really sure. I'm pretty sure that's Pixar. But if you were to tell me it's Disney Animation, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, it's just, they don't have that, which is why I think it's possible that those merge. Because there's nothing distinctive about the two of them. if you're looking to cut costs, I mean, those two massive studios, I'm sure you could cut a lot of costs by combining those. I'm not saying that's a good move. I just could see them doing it from a corporate end.
Oh, I could too. And they keep cutting Pixar.
Yep.
I mean, the Pixar just got a huge round of layoffs again recently. Even after Toy Story 5, they still laid all those people off. But they're not really laying off on Disney Animation side, though, are they? Not that I know of. So they might merge those two together. Now, the only thing maybe saving Pixar is that Pixar is a pretty solid brand. You know, I mean, they named a whole area after it, Pixar Pier at California Adventure. So it's like it's a solid brand. People love the brand of Pixar, so maybe they won't do that because people do like the branding, but like I don't know. It seems like it's getting a little redundant, though. I don't know.
Well, what is the last Pixar original that really did great? Was it Coco? Was that the last one that was probably like beloved?
I mean, Hoppers did like okay, right? I think like just okay.
I don't think it made money. I don't think Hoppers was that. I saw Hoppers. I thought it was pretty entertaining, but it didn't do that well. I think it made 500-ish million, I think, which means it probably lost money, maybe broke even. But yeah, and like Kiki and Lucas said, Frozen going to make $1 jillion. The sequels make money. It's just the originals have had a hard time. Like, you know, back in the day, it was like if it was a Pixar original movie, like people just went to go see it, and they just don't as much anymore. And I didn't see Elio. I didn't hear great things about it, but you know, I think that's part of it. Is just like, and also like it's funny with Toy Story 5 because I was watching. My son went through. He's been watching the older ones. The new one has a lot more of a human focus, where the original Toy Story movies were like toy focused. It's kind of interesting, the perspective of it. It's like you didn't really get a lot of the like human stuff going on in those movies. It's all about from like what the toys were seeing. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now
Ben was commenting, I'm not crapping on originals. I'm simply stating they're not performing well. I literally said Hoppers did okay. I'm not saying I want people to be fired. I'm saying I can see a corporation making moves like that because they're not seeing their ROI. That is all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing too, I think when it comes to animation, it's really tough right now, Ben, because you know a lot of these a lot of parents are looking at the landscape and they're thinking, you know, I can spend $100 for you know husband, wife, and the two kids to get into the theater to watch this unproven original animated film, right? Or I can wait, 90 days, whatever it is, and just have my kids watch it on repeat on the iPad, right? And so there is a high bar now when it comes to this stuff. So when it comes to Toy Story 5. The parents are like, yeah, we'll give you our money because it's a proven franchise. We know what we're getting into when we spend our money. Hoppers, Elio, these originals, a lot of these movies are great. I loved Elemental. I thought Elemental was an amazing movie. But you're rolling the dice. As a parent, that's a lot of money to go to the movies, man.
It is. I mean, you get 4 tickets, and if you, God forbid, you get popcorn. I mean, you're easily looking at $75, at least in Florida. Like it's, you know, it's not cheap. And so, yeah, if you're not sure, you know, a lot of people wait and see what people say on YouTube about it or see what the feedback is before they go. And, you know, when you're a parent too, especially with these kids movies, they can do really well. But you also like, you know, as a parent, it's kind of hard sometimes to get everybody together to go to a movie. And it's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world too, but
100%.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, I hope they get it back because I think animation is even for adults, like animation's a fun medium to play in.
Yeah.
And even the Toy Story movies are, they're for kids, but like as an adult, like Toy Story 3, like that's a great movie. Like just from a movie storytelling standpoint, you know, it is solid.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And Seymour says these movies do well on Disney Plus. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, and that
your point too of like people just waiting for it to go on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
and I would be they don't really report the subscription numbers anymore. But I would be very curious to know, like, do they get a lot of people subbing to Disney Plus for let's say, I think Toy Story 5 is going to be on Disney Plus and like probably pretty soon. I know you can buy it on Disney Plus right now, so I would assume it's going to be where you can just watch it on the regular here pretty soon. But like, do they get a massive amount of people that sign up for Disney Plus to do that? Because if they don't, you're kind of just selling to an existing audience at that point.
That's a great point. I tell you what, if they put Bob Chapek's book on Disney Plus, like the audio book on Disney Plus, I will resubscribe to Disney Plus today. Today.
I have a pretty strong feeling they won't do that, but I would I would be in if they were just like, here it is.
And I'm sure you and I are gonna have a ton of coverage on that book because there's gonna be so much in there, bro.
I'm not a big reader, but I will read that thing cover to cover. I just, there's got to be, if that doesn't have some juicy stuff in there, it's going to be like, what? Why do you even have this book, Bob? Like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
And Ben said, I don't mean to be negative towards you, Jared. I agree with you. I just do think Pixar and Disney are doing the right strategy with balancing production of originals with sequels to balance out money. And listen, ideally, like, I'm just, a lot of times I'm talking about that corporate end of things. It's like they have a pretty consistent behavior pattern. Like, cost cutting is a big thing that they always look at. I think you do need a balance. And I saw somebody comment of saying, like, why does Disney get ragged on for sequels? I don't think sequels are a problem if you also have original stuff coming out. But at some point, though, it's like, how many Frozens can you make? Like, how many, like, and then they kind of become redundant, where it's not as big of an issue if you have, and there's not as much pressure on sequels, by the way, if you do have original stuff coming out. And I think you can hit a point. Vash is pointing this out as well. Disney looks at this as like investing into the IP sometimes, but you can also damage an IP. Like, I don't think Toy Story is damaged, but I don't think 4 and 5. I think 5 I had some issues here and there with it, but it was fine as a movie. It's better than 4. But like, if you would have left it Toy Story 1 through 3, I mean, that's like a perfect trilogy.
Yeah.
Of those movies. And it's like, do you really need more? And I think sometimes that's when it can go on too long. I mean, same thing with like the MCU. Like, after Endgame, I think they should have just reset and they just kept going. And then it gets like, okay, what are we on? And then it turns into homework. And, sequels are not a problem in themselves, but it's just an issue whenever you can't get any original stuff going. And then it puts you in a precarious situation where all you're doing is sequels.
100%. And I think it's Robert Zemeckis who's done a really good job at protecting Back to the Future from that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, he said as long as he's alive, they're not doing anything with it. Like, I respect that.
Me too.
It's so popular because it hasn't been messed with. It's like a time.
Oh, it is. When I was at uni the other day, they were playing that. They were blasting it too, like all the way up at the ticket gate. And I'm like, dude, I was getting goosebumps just like listening to it. I was like, dude, this is so good. I love it so much.
Yeah, that movie it's like that's the thing about good soundtracks too. It's like it invokes an emotion. Like the Toy Story music. My son will be watching the movies, and I'm just like, oh, I remember. Like, I remember the first time I saw Toy Story, and that was like one of the first times you saw like animated stuff from like a computer. You're like, holy crap, what is this? Like, it's just, and I think in today's entertainment landscape, there's also just so many choices. Like, you've got to really get people's attention. And we've even seen like a lot of stuff is powered by nostalgia. And I think there's still an appetite for original stuff, but is like you were saying, people are not going to take a risk on something. Like, back in the day, you would just go to the movie theater and be like, hey, let's go see a movie. You're not doing that anymore because considering it's like, it's so expensive and you got to get seats ahead of time. So it's just different. A lot more options. And I think that's just, I think Illuminations has shown you can still do original stuff, but even their stuff's not 100% hit rate, nor has Disney ever been. I mean, Disney, even in their heyday, had stuff that didn't hit. It's just you probably have I'm sure internally they have like a formula they would like to see of like whatever it is, 30% hit rate, 40% hit rate, whatever that is. In recent years, Pixar just has not had what they used to. But Coco was great. Like that was the last that I can. There might be another one. That's the last one I can think of that was like the last original that really hit, and it was that one's a good movie, undoubtedly.
Yeah. And now we're getting Coco 2 with Miguel with the fade, bro.
I saw that was cool. I'm like, I mean, it'll probably be good. I was very like, okay, we're aging him up a bit because that's also a risk too. You age up a kid. That's somewhat of a risk. I think that's why they wanted to keep Baby Groot around for so long, because aging up Baby Yoda, people may not like the teenage version of Baby Yoda, if you will.
Right. It's a huge risk. And that was very convenient that he's Yoda's species, where he can be 50 and still look like a baby.
Right.
So you can go through so much. Yeah, you can go through so much time on the timeline, and he's still a little kid,
Yeah. I agree. Well, speaking of weird, this will be the last thing we'll hit tonight, and I'm very curious about your thoughts on this. I saw this pop up and I was like, oh, I kind of made my prediction sort of like it'll happen eventually, but WW News Today reporting that Disney has a patent for giving AI virtual characters and robots memories and preventing hallucinations. Now, this is something AI can do. They call it hallucinating, where it kind of like gives an odd answer to something. And obviously, if you got meet and greets going that are powered by AI, you don't want the animatronic giving off some weird answers like we've seen, a few times when AI goes off the rails. You definitely don't want that in your theme park.
No.
So they have some more details on this. It says one embodiment of the present invention sets forth a technique for synthesizing an interaction with a virtual character. The technique includes matching a first message from a user to a first set of memories associated with the virtual character and determining at least a portion of the first set of memories based on a plurality of factors associated with the first set of memories. So essentially what this is all getting at is, and they've got diagrams on how this stuff would start and go, but it's some sort of pattern where they're going to operate off of their own language learning model. And I guess the big thing about this is preventing these things from, a kid comes up and says, "Hey, Olaf," and Olaf says like, something crazy, you don't
Yeah.
like whatever he might say. And I think that now I've made the point after Epic Universe opened with that toothless meet and greet, that is the future of meet and greets, of these animatronics, because those things can run all day long. That thing it's awesome. It's a fantastic meet and greet. And so when we saw this Olaf pop up in Disneyland Paris, I was like, this stuff's coming at some point. Now, I think with this patent, who knows how quickly, but I think definitely Disney is looking in this direction of meet and greets that are essentially AI powered robots. I don't know about you, but that's a weird dystopian future that I didn't know if I'd ever noticed. But I think at some point we do have meet and greet, maybe even walk around characters that are robots with AI in there.
I'm telling you, I think this is the future. Now, I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where Kiki and Luke was asking, will they ever replace human actors? I don't think completely. Like, I think will always be a market for going up and actually hugging Mickey Mouse and hugging Minnie, right? But some of these other characters, like an Olaf, who's really small, or like a Stitch, or a Tinkerbell,
right,
or even the bigger stuff, like a Maleficent dragon, or even like a toothless size animal or something,
or like a Hulk in Disneyland.
A Hulk, exactly, a Scar from Lion King. These kind of things, I can see them using them, and you don't have to pay a cast member. And again, I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm just saying from a Disney corporate mentality, they're looking at it going, okay, we can have AI robotic Olaf and not have to have some guy in a costume that we're going to have to pay, $25 an hour, Yeah. So I don't think it's going to completely replace the walk around characters, like with the human beings in them. I'm telling you right now, though, I think there's going to be a bigger part of this stuff in the mix, though, than there is right now. It's coming.
I agree. And I agree with you. It's like Olaf is weird to me because like when you see Olaf, sometimes the parks, he's massive. And you're like, it's just, it's weird because he's small in the movies. And you can say things for like Stitch. I agree. I don't think it replaces like princess characters and things like that. No. Maybe a long enough timeline, maybe, but I don't think that would be any time in the next like 10 years at least. Who knows with this stuff though? It could cost jobs, but at the same time, they're going to have cast members accompany these things. So if it does go off the rails, like, they can kind of like usher it away or something like that.
Right.
But it creates a very like, I don't know. For me, like it's a very ominous feeling of knowing like, and I'm sure that they would have these things on some sort of rails, but like, we've all seen Terminator. We've all seen these movies where the AI goes crazy. And it's like, I wonder how much of this stuff is them worried about that, or if they're just going to go right through to it. Because I think when you do start having this stuff in the parks, you're going to have some weird stuff happen at first. Like this stuff's not going to go off without a hitch, undoubtedly.
No.
They're going to try and prevent it as much as possible. We even saw when they were training that Olaf about how they were using AI to train the movements. Like there's some really cool uses of the tech. And I think that this could be really cool of having like an Olaf that interacts with kids and stuff. But I think safety and AI safety is going to become a very interesting discussion in the coming years, especially when we're talking about this type of stuff of a robot having AI powering it on some level, interacting with guests in a theme park. That part I think is the very like that's the thing that like a lot of people are like, okay, that's weird.
Well, yeah, and it can open Disney up to a lot of legal issues too. Like if your kiddo was talking to Olaf, and then the AI goes haywire and says some weird stuff to the kiddo, the
Right.
parent could turn around and be like, "Hey, Disney, I go to your park with a certain expectation here, and your Olaf is mouthing off to me and my kid."
Right.
Like that, that could potentially be a legal issue for them.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, I the jokes of an AI freaking out at tagging. I don't know if they would do that, but yeah, you're right. It's like, what if? And we've seen like Grok go crazy on X here and there, where it's like, if that happens in a theme park, I mean, that's first off, with all the cameras are out, that's going to be over social media everywhere instantly. I do wonder, like, and to be fair, sometimes Disney files patents that they don't use. Every company does this. They have patents that may not end up actually happening. But I definitely think this shows you that they are definitely looking at this. And as technology driven as Bruce Vaughn is, that doesn't surprise me, nor Josh Tomorrow. So I think it has a really cool potential to it. I am very curious on the other side of like, how much are they willing to take the risk of it? Or are they going to be a little bit more? I would imagine Disney's going to be pretty conservative with how quickly they implement this type of stuff into the parks, given all the stuff like you just said, lawsuits and, if people, another thing too, how do people react in a theme park knowing something is AI?
Yes. Well, Jared, you and I are content creators, right? I mean,
Supposedly.
look at, right? Supposedly, right? The rumor has it, right? Rumor has it. But like, here's the thing: we've gotten, I mean, we both have, and I think anyone in this space probably has at some point gotten, some heat for like if we do an AI thing or whatever. What's the reception? It's a great point that you bring up. What's the reception going to be from the general public when you have AI characters? Is there going to be pushback on this? Is AI getting to a point where it's so normalized where people don't care anymore? But it's interesting though,
It is. And on that same topic, and I teased this before, and I was talking to you before the show. Speaking of AI, I'm want your opinion on this because this was posted by Theme Park Cheetah, and it says, the Magic Kingdom Express monorail has a new narration, and it sounds either text to speech or AI generated. I'm gonna play this and see what you think. It could be AI. I don't know, but here, I'll play this real quick.
Those of you standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the doors. They will be closing in a moment. Thank you. Those of you standing, please move across your car to make room for everyone, and kindly offer available seating to those needing additional assistance. If you're standing, please hold on to the handrails and stay clear of the automatic doors. The monorail will depart momentarily. Thank you.
I mean, it sounds like a human being to me, but the thing is that it's. I mean, I played with Google Gemini before, and we all have, and like, you can make it sound like a human being though. So I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
And I've played around with some of those voice tools. It's getting remarkably good. Like even having like pauses and like it'll even kind of be like like it'll do like human type of like things. I would have to hear it. To me, that sounds like what I've heard on the monorail before. But I think we're entering into a realm here where you may not be able to tell. No. And especially if I can't remember his name, but the guy that did those, he passed away, and I can't remember his name now. He was the narrator for a lot of the Disney parks. If his family agrees, like, they're going to pay to like the rights to his voice, you could definitely see in the future where this could become something. And I don't know if this is it or not. This could just be, again, I think a lot of the social media sphere is very AI boogeyman right now, like seeing AI everywhere. And so even if this is not, which from listening to that, I don't think that's AI, or if it is, it's very, very good. But Tom Kane, thank you, Rock Blazer. Tom Kane is his name. Yes. I know he passed away, but he's the one that does, most of like when you get onto the buses and all that stuff, like that's his voice you are hearing. I think that if, let's say they did get some agreement with the family, it wouldn't surprise me if in the coming years that this stuff is AI generated.
Well, and that's the gray area with the AI stuff, right? Because there's a lot of this fan stuff where it's like, we don't want AI. Okay, but what if, like, Paul Paul Frees' family signs off on it, and you can get his voice back in these parks, and it sounds just like him. It doesn't sound like an AI version. It sounds just like him, right? Or Tom Kane. And it's like, you know, like, yeah, it's AI, but like as a fandom though, wouldn't we want to hear these legendary voices again live on? So it's like there's that really weird kind of like we're stuck in the middle kind of thing, where it's like, oh man.
Yeah, and like Kiki and Lucas said, can't stop progress, and we are in the midst of an emerging tech right now. And, you know, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be people that are pro it. And I'm in not the popular side of the internet where I see both sides of it. And I think, honestly, at this point, there's way more AI usage than most people probably realize in these companies from the back end that you just don't see. And we've had that conversation before where, you know, Imagineering now is using AI, but like they're not going to come out and tell you. Let's say Villains Land was maybe I have no doubt that there's going to be things about Villains Land that had AI assistance. Undoubtedly. They're using it right now. But if you don't know the difference, you know, what are people going to do? I feel like you're going to have this period of time where everything's a witch hunt. And Disney has had like really bad uses of like AI art in that Haunted Mansion gift shop and things like that. Like there has been some things where you're like blatantly, even Universal lately, some of their t-shirt designs people are looking at saying this looks like it's AI driven. There's going to be this weird period as these companies like start using it, and it's going to be clunky, but at some point it's going to become almost seamless where people will not be able to tell. And I think that gets interesting because I do think as time goes along, a lot of the pushback against it will lessen as the time goes, kind of like the internet in many ways.
Yeah.
Really, what does AI become? And really, you know, I think there's still questions about what that's going to entail, how much of an impact it's going to have on things. But I don't know. I saw that and I was just like, I'm not convinced of it. But it's still at the point I'm like, I think at some point it could be, and you'll just never know.
Like, yeah, no, you're 100% right on that. And you're right. There is this boogeyman sort of culture right now with, oh, this is AI and that's AI and shame on you for that. And shame, you know, it's like, and this is the thing with people. It's like either 0 or 100, right?
Right.
It's like people can't like acknowledge that, like, yes, we don't want AI to like decimate every job. No. At the same time, can we also acknowledge that, dude, this is a cool technology and it could maybe, you know, accent some of these processes and not completely eliminate it, right? So it's like, but people don't have the ability nowadays to do that. That it's either it's all bad or it's all good. There's no gray area, you know, and you're an evil person forever using it. And like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, come on, right? So hopefully we move beyond that and we can kind of like, you know, accept that AI is here, like Kiki and Luca is saying, and like basically, how do we work with it where we balance the human touch with the AI? And I think we will. I think we have to. I think if we don't balance it, none of us are working.
Well, Elon Musk is out here saying we got like 3 years before like AI is going to do everything. I don't know if I subscribe to that, but I mean, listen, I'm not a trillionaire, so he knows stuff that I don't know. But you know, I agree. And Rock Blazer here says, while I get skepticism at generative AI, it's so annoying when people see artwork they don't like and assume it must have been AI.
Yeah. Well,
that is my point too. There's literally like, there's just no middle ground. And on the internet, this like sitting in the middle being like, I see it from both sides is like the most hated position because people want you on their side on the argument one way or the other. And I don't know. I'm the same way. I see there's advantages to it. There's things that people can utilize for it. I think it will open up opportunities for many things, right? But it also has the potential to really decimate industries depending on what direction it goes. But, you know, that's why I even argued when Disney originally made that deal with OpenAI, I was like, well, you know, Disney's going to get a lot of flack and Universal and these bigger companies for using AI, but like, if they don't use it, they're going to get left behind because everyone's using it. And you can say anything for like countries now. It's like an AI arms race in many ways. So if you get a seat at the table, at least you're able to have a voice about, you know, hey, we need to protect, you know, artist rights and we need to do X, Y, and Z. Because you just leave it, if you just tap out and leave it to these AI companies, and we've seen that they will run roughshod. If you don't put any resistance against them, they will run roughshod over everything.
Oh, no, well said. And I, you know, it's funny too that people, and I stopped explaining myself because it's pointless after a while, but like people will like come down on you. Oh, that thumbnail is AI. And I've used AI in the past for like thumbnails or what have you. But context also matters. And this is where the context and the gray area come in. I've always made my thumbnails. So if I'm using AI thumbnails now, I'm not replacing anyone's job. I'm just utilizing AI now instead of cut and copy and pasting on Photoshop. So I didn't take away a job. So, but like people never want to hear the context. People just want to paint you as a bad person because you used it. How dare you, OG? You used it.
Well, it's like it's a moral, it's some sort of moral test. Like you're a bad person for using AI for something that you did, sort of thing. And it's just, it's I don't know. It's just one of those things where, especially on X, I would say social media, there's no nuance on social media. It's just which side are you on, and we're going to yell at each other. But I think there is a lot more like, the in-between stuff. That's kind of life, and the gray areas of life is where you discuss these things, the pros and cons of also. I mean, I'm sure back in the day there were pros and cons about the internet of, what's this going to do? And I don't think anybody foresaw what the internet necessarily became. And I think the same thing will be for AI. And one thing I always will point out, and I always, funny enough, Ben Affleck's the one that pointed it out on Joe Rogan months ago, was saying, if you look at all the predictions of AI and what it's going to do and what it's going to replace, it's all coming from the AI companies, and they're trying to justify these massive evaluations. So of course they're going to say this and that and everything, but we're even seeing evidence of they're rehiring engineers and people because the AI is not cheaper. It's actually more expensive and less efficient. And so, that's an interesting wrinkle into it. Maybe it gets there at some point, but I think it definitely has its dangers. Don't get me wrong. Like AI can, I think we've all seen the movies and what it could do. But I think there is this potential of like, if you have a creative process, like Imagineering, I can see where, creative end of things, it could help assist you of getting things done quicker and sort of thing. But I think we are going to be in this witch hunt mode for a while. Yeah. And if this is AI, we'll probably never know. Because Disney's not going to answer that question one way or the other.
No, and if it is AI, it's dang good. Because it sounds like a human being. And like I played with the AI voiceover stuff before, and I mean the stuff that I do on my own, even like I couldn't tell the difference. It sounds like a human being.
Yeah, I took one of it. You can train it on your own voice. I took my voice because I have hours of videos. So I just uploaded a bunch of stuff to it. I mean, I obviously can tell it wasn't me. And I think you could tell, like it just doesn't quite flow like a person does. But where it's at now to where it was like a year ago is vastly improved. So at some point, it's going to have a really weird world where like you could have an AI clone of your voice that no one would know if it's you or not.
Dude, that's crazy. We've come a long way from Will Smith eating spaghetti, haven't we?
Dude, that first thing you saw, like AI is stupid, and now you look at it now and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of crazy. It's how that changed too.
Yeah, it's wild.
Remy D is a good point. Every studio already uses AI in all levels of story making. AI has already replaced storyboard employees. You used to need 30 artists to give 10 sketches. Now you only need 1 to do 300.
Great point.
It's true.
Great point.
Like, I agree with you. Like, I don't want to see people lose jobs and careers, but we've also seen throughout history, like when the telephone came along, Telegram went away, internet comes along, it creates jobs, it costs jobs. Maybe AI will be the thing that takes all the jobs, or maybe it ends up being somewhere in the middle and people adjust. But I don't know. I just thought that whole AI, like I think you will see walk around characters that have AI implemented into them that are robots. I think that is undoubtedly coming, and it's going to be wild.
Crazy thing too, Disney's already dabbling in trackless vehicles. We see it with Zootopia. We see it with Rise of the Resistance. We see it with Mickey and Minnie's, right? Mystic Manor, right? These trackless vehicles. And we also have some of these like these walk around animatronics like the Olaf, right? I mean, can you imagine a day in like, I don't know, 15, 20 years where we're riding attractions like the Haunted Mansion and the animatronics are not bolted to the ground and they roam these set scenes using their AI brains and their AI memories? Like, how scary is that? But I mean, I can see that happening.
Yeah, I never even think about that perspective, but that's very true. Yeah. Well, then, it's one of those things where it's like, I think everybody always be like, one of these days, those things are going to go rogue. You just never know. I mean, it maybe Terminator was wrong. Maybe Skynet is wrong, but it's funny how I think a lot of this stuff they looked at it instead of a warning. They're like, "That's a good idea. We should do that." Like, no, don't do that. Don't create. Like, you see, China had like robot Olympics.
Oh my
and now
God.
these things are running faster than Usain Bolt. I was like, we don't need to be making these things go fast. I think that's like Jeff Goldblum comes to mind. You never thought just because you can, should you? I don't think.
Thank you. No, that's 100% it. And I don't want to be on a haunted mansion and have these things like malfunction. Now I'm getting choked out by the hitchhiking ghost.
You have
like no.
You come on, you just got a neck brace. So what happened? Like, I don't know, the AI robot just kind of went crazy and choked me out on the ride. I'm okay though.
Can you imagine? It's crazy. It's wild. Oh,
I guess
man.
you'd have a story to tell. But I think they looked at Black Mirror instead of a warning. They were just like, yeah. How about killer robot dogs? You're like, how about no? That's why would no? Like,
Absolutely not.
Yeah. We'll see. It'll be an interesting. Listen, the future is. I'm always an optimist. I know it's like glass empty, half full, or sort of thing. I'm always an optimist. I always believe in the human spirit to ingenuity and all these things like that. This is a different world, but I guess we'll eventually find out one way or the other, and then I don't know. We'll be talking about this, maybe like, yep, I was wrong. That was a really bad idea, or like maybe it's not the bad. Who knows?
But you work out, so you're more prepared because you can.
I'm ready for them. I mean, yeah, I'm at this point. It's like your reasons for working out change, and now mine are like, okay, impress my wife and fight off these AI robots. I got to at least give them some sort of resistance here. So I don't know. We'll see.
Exactly.
We'll see. But I think that brings us. We've been going almost 2.5 hours here. And we're going to end the stream now. It's a little after 11 o'clock here, so I'm going to chill out a little bit before I go to bed. But OG, thank you for being here. As always a great time. And thank you to Vash's audience that was here. Vash, again, had some internet issues. Hopefully he'll be back next week. I know he was very frustrated by it. Very frustrated. So it's internet issues are no fun, to put it that way. And I do agree with Remy. The other example is Ultron.
Yeah, exactly, Remy.
Ultron's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point there. And also shout out Conductor for coming on here. Appreciate you guys for them to coming on here, and everybody in the chat for hanging out. Thank you guys. Before we get out of here, though, where can everybody find you out here on YouTube and social media, sir?
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Jared, for being an amazing host as always. I want to thank the chat, everybody in the chat, Kalani D, Remy D, Kiki and Luca, Rogue Attraction, everybody who joined us, Ben, Zakuto, everybody. Also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Vash Sky of Vash Sky ParkCast. Make sure you check him out if you're not watching this on his channel. He will be back next week, absolutely. And Mr. Theme Park Conductor. Make sure you check him out also on YouTube. And you can find me right here on Orange Grove 55, talking shop with this fine gentleman all the time, and Conductor and Mr. Webba and everybody here. We have a great time. You can also catch me on X, Orange Grove 55, and you can also catch me on Instagram, Orange Grove 55, which is a source of great, funny reels that we send each other in the group text.
There's so many good ones. I thought about we should have like a meme segment on the show, just like some of the memes we find, because there's the gold ones out there. I did see one. I'll have to find it and send it to you. There was one I found. I always bookmark them, and I always forget to go back to them. But yeah, there's some great comedy on Instagram. I like my algorithm. My algorithm is like working out, motivation stuff, and just like memes. It's just like the most ridiculous stuff you find out there. It's just it's my algorithm, and I like it. That's how.
It was funny. I think it was Jay the other day in the group chat. He got this one pretty Asian girl singing Tupac's "Hit 'Em Up," and he's like, "Look what you did to my algorithm, emoji."
Dude, that's the thing. They're so sensitive now. If you like hover on something, you just get like 50 of them, and you're like, "Oh gosh, dang!" So you got to like reset it. Like, no, I need to go back to what this was. But yeah,
it's hilarious. I love it.
The best ones are Theme Park Philosophy. He sends some bangers every once in a while.
Oh, bro,
yeah,
he sends a lot of good ones, dude. He sends a lot of good ones. That one guy he sends over all the time. That Duke, I forgot his last name. Duke something.
Oh, Duke Gomez. Yeah.
I love it.
It's one of those, it's a good meme. The first thing you're thinking is like, I got to share this with the boys and my wife. And my wife just looks at me. She's like, "What'd you send me?" I'm like, "It's funny." And she'll be like, "You sent me 5 of them." I'm like, I'm sharing my comedy with you. Okay. It's
you know,
good.
you're giving, this is gold here. This is some gold.
Doesn't appreciate it. I'm like, this is good stuff. My comedy is, for instance, have you ever seen the movie Hot Rod?
No.
Oh my gosh. So it's Andy Samberg. It's got Bill Hader, Danny McBride. It's a goofball, like just a ridiculous movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. Me and my brother had the same thing. We went and saw it in theaters, and I'm not even kidding you. We were the only people laughing in the theater. It's like a very unique like if you have that type of sense of humor, it's really funny. And if you don't, you're just like, you guys are psychopaths. So my sense of humor is Hot Rod. Anything that's Hot Rod kind of adjacent, that fits me to a T.
I love it.
You would like it. But it's if you like things that don't make any sense and like very subtle comedy, like you would like Hot Rod.
Okay. All right. I'll check it out for sure. And one of my favorite comedies of all time to this day is Superbad.
Superbad's good. Superbad's good.
That was a funny one. Those kids were hilarious, but that's kind of my comedy. And like Dave Chappelle, I think Dave Chappelle is brilliant.
Chappelle's good. Chappelle's very good. Yeah. There's a lot of stand-up I like nowadays. What's his name? He's the guy from Tennessee, Nate Bargatze. He's really funny. He's a pretty funny guy. But yeah, I love some good stand-up. Theme Park and Things says Spaceballs. Spaceballs is good. Spaceballs is solid.
They're making another one.
There's a scene in Hot Rod where Andy Samberg's character decides he's like, I need to be a grown-up, and he goes grocery shopping, and they don't point to it, and then his buddy confronts me like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's time for me to give up my dreams. Okay, I need to be an adult." And he's got like this goofy, like he's got a tie on a shirt that doesn't belong, and he has a grocery cart full of just hard alcohol. That is it. That's all that's in there. Is just hard alcohol. And you're like, his idea of being an adult is just going and buying hard alcohol. But it's like it's just goofy.
I love it.
Describing the movie just doesn't do it good. But Connie D says, I saw that movie in 2007. Very funny. Yeah, it's an old one, but it's good. I still love that one. But yeah, you can find me if you are watching an OG side or any other side. You can find me at Captain Magic. I do daily videos talking about very similar things to OG. And then if you're looking for especially Halloween Horror Nights information, looking to go for Orlando, over on CTM Podcast on YouTube. My wife and I, that's our podcast we have there. We have a full preview episode of Halloween Horror Nights that came out today. So if you're looking to go and you want to know all the houses, all the ticket options, everything that, give some strategies on how to get the most out of that night, you can go check that out. It's over an hour long. So we go more in depth we kind of hit bigger stories here. And then on that channel, we kind of do more like, food reviews, strategies for the parks and things like that. So you can go check that out over there. But thank you guys, everyone, for hanging out in the chat. For those that sent over some jewels and super chats and member messages, appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week. And if you're in Florida, stay dry because it's been raining a lot. But if you're in California, stay cool because it's been hot up there. So
yeah,
we will see you guys later and talk to you soon. Bye.
Peace.